Well, I don't know where he is. I'll put the link out. Whether he gets here or not, that's up to him. Anyway, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you are, and welcome to The World's Gone Insane, where the only birds that get diddled here are Zam's budgies. That being said, hello to my co-hosts, and we're just going to get into it. We're going to start with some great news. Some great news. News that something that should be happening all over the world, and it would accelerate world peace like there's no tomorrow. Well, I mean, if billionaires keep existing, there won't be no tomorrow. I am, of course, talking about Trong My Lan, Vietnamese billionaire sentenced to death for 44 billion pound dollar fraud. Let me just get rid of this. what a love. I want to read that again. I want to read that again because it's satisfying. Trong My Lan, Vietnamese billionaire sentenced to death for 44 billion fraud. Yum, 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 yum. Now then, it was the most spectacular trial ever held in Vietnam, befitting one of the greatest bank frauds the world has ever seen. Behind the stately yellow portico of the colonial era courthouse in Ho Chi Minh City, a 67-year-old Vietnamese property developer was sentenced to death on Thursday for looting one of the country's largest banks over a period of 11 years. I didn't know anything about this case, so, and I haven't read this article. I thought I would savor the delights for us here today. It's a rare verdict. She's one of the very few women in Vietnam to be sentenced to death for a white collar crime. The decision is a reflection of the dizzying scale of the fraud. Trang My Lan was convicted of taking out 44 billion, that's 35 billion pounds, in loans from the Saigon Commercial Bank. The verdict requires her to return 27 billion, as some, God damn it, as some prosecutors said may never be recovered. Yeah, you don't say. Some believe the death penalty is the court's way of trying to encourage her to return some of the missing billions. The habitually secretive communist authorities were uncharacteristically forthright about this case, going into minute detail for the media. They said 2,700 people were summoned to testify, while 10 state prosecutors and around 200 lawyers were involved. The evidence was in 104 boxes weighing a total of 6 tons. Jesus Christ, one of my butt cheeks. 85 others were tried with Trong My Lan, who denied charges and can appeal. All of the defendants were found guilty. 4 received life in jail. The rest were given prison terms ranging from 20 years to 3 years suspended. Trong My Lan, husband and niece, received jail terms of 9 and 17 years, respectively. There has never been a show trial like this. I think in the communist era, says David Brown, a retired U.S. State Department official with a long experience in Vietnam. There has certainly been nothing on this scale. The trial was the most dramatic chapter so far in the blazing furnaces anti-corruption campaign led by the Communist Party Secretary General Nguyen Phu Trong, a conservative ideologue steeped in Marxist theory. Nguyen Phu Trong believes that the popular anger over untamed corruption poses an existential threat to the Communist Party's monopoly on power. He began the campaign in earnest in 2016. Holy crap. After outmaneuvering the then pro business prime minister to retain the top job in the party. The campaign has seen 2 presidents and 2 deputy prime ministers forced to resign and hundreds of officials disciplined or jailed. Now, one of the country's richest women has joined their ranks. Trong My Lan comes from a Sino-Vietnamese family in Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon. It has long been commercial engine of the... Anyway, we don't need to bloody hell. This thing just goes on and on. So that's
So,
mental.
a
Your
couple of
thoughts?
things. This person, were they already like rich prior to committing this fraud?
Yeah, they were like very rich, like property developer.
And they were
And all that.
billionaires prior to committing this fraud.
Yes.
It's just never enough, is it? You know, like if you have one, so me, you, Chris, you know, we have forget a billion, just say 100 million, 50 million. That's it. I'm good. I am good. You know, like my not only am I good, my extended family are good. You know, everyone around me, my friends, were all good. You know, it's just never enough. So it just shows you, you know, what a terrible characteristic greed is, a trait, you know, however you want to call it, you know, a feeling, a vibe, something that immerses you to want more than you ever possibly need. They were already billionaires, for Christ's sake. They didn't need any more money. it's just it's just ridiculous. I have no sympathy for these people whatsoever. You know what I mean? Off with their heads.
Yeah, Christine.
Yeah, I've always said that if I could get rid of, and I'm not religious, but if I could get rid of one of the 7 deadly sins, my first choice would be greed, because I think that it leads to so many atrocities, so many heartaches. I mean, if we didn't have greed, people would make a living wage. People that couldn't provide for themselves would get assistance. There'd be probably no war, right?
Definitely wouldn't be any wars.
Yeah.
Because what is war other than the greed of resources? You know,
So
especially in the
Sonara, this
modern
person's
era.
asking.
Sonora, yes, that's Zan's background is a Sonora desert.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, but yeah, I mean this um, you know the yeah, I mean what was going on in Vietnam was kind of endemic of what was also happening in China at the time. There was like a rise of a huge billionaire class, and you know they'd adopted too much capital. So obviously, you know, the current leader is just like, okay, let's calm down a bit. This is getting a bit ridiculous. This isn't doesn't go with the principles of why we defeated the colonizers in the first place. So they've really been clamping down on it, you know, and I think this sends a nice message, a shock out to everyone to just say, look, you know, while the West is destroying itself because it's just allowing the billionaire class to control everything over here in Asia, we're like, we're going to kneecap these people. And more of this, please. I want this was so satisfying because that 44 billion, you know, just the amount of programs, the amount of help you could give to people with that, and all of that was just transferred to one person. It's insane. There shouldn't be billionaires shouldn't allow to exist at all. You know, they should be any wealth earned after a certain amount should just be completely taxed. You don't need it, and most of it is just like stolen wages and exploitation of people and resources. Hello, Rick B. Yes, hi. The gays are here.
Hey guys.
So, Rick, one of your favorite class of people reading about a billionaire in Vietnam just got sentenced to death in that, which could be like if she was able to return the fortunes. By the way, they probably would overturn the death penalty. You know, Vietnam. I know people talk about it's so like, but it's not as bad as it's not as bad as China. Basically, they do follow a lot of the principles and rules of Marxism. Well, at least they did for a period of time, and that is also a more kind of democratized local cases. Still a bit too authoritarian in areas, but you know, the point is like this person's been sentenced to death, but if they return 27 billion, they could just face life imprisonment. But you know, I'd rather the death penalty. It's the nicer option. And speaking of the billionaire class causing a lot of issues, I'm going to transition straight into one of the biggest issues that America is facing. And, you know, when America faces an issue, it's not long before it kind of spills over to the rest of the world. And this is something that has been concerning me for absolutely ages. Right, make sure that that is that. Bring that up. Okay, let me see. Yep, okay, all right. Go back.
23 private equity firms purchased.
Can you hear that all right?
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah, I'll turn it up a bit here.
23 private equity firms purchased 44% of all of the single family homes.
Also, they don't actually buy the housing so much as they just get it for free. You see, the private equity firms buy housing with money borrowed from banks that are owned by the same people who own the private equity firms. And since banks don't actually lend people their own money, but rather loans are new money created out of thin air and then circulated into the economy, then basically these private equity firms are lending themselves money they don't have to buy housing they don't need against the promise that you, the renter, will buy the housing for them by paying back that loan progressively over time. This style of lending, increasing the money supply, devalues our salaries relative to the value of assets and resources. Resources like housing, which creates a situation where more and more people are living paycheck to paycheck without any kind of hope of ever being able to own a home of their own. Now, this is important since an asset like a house goes up in value relative to the devalued money supply this process creates. So if you own one, that means that you're somewhat insulated and protected from the inflation built into our system. That's essentially what the middle class is. People who can afford to own assets that appreciate in value over time, so they're not just constantly treading water, fighting to keep their head above the surface and prevent themselves from drowning. Financially speaking, if your economy is set up to, by design, eliminate the middle class, then what you're left with is an ownership class and basically an owned class, which is an oligarchy. This is a coup. The Western world is being cooed by corporate interests. It's been going on for quite a while, and now it seems that we're kind of moving in to the final stages.
Yep.
Yeah, I just
I'm not
have some
surprised
quick
by
to say.
this.
I got into a little bit of a flame war online with someone I know who's a small business owner who was defending billionaires. And I finally had to say, listen, this is not an attack on small business owners. This is an attack on billionaires that are taking our wealth, putting it overseas and not returning it to the economy and basically paying people slave wages. And what I mean by that is originally a job was meant so that you would work and receive an income that would allow you to live, buy a house, own a car, send your kids to college. Now people work, but they don't make enough money to even live. At the best, they can live paycheck to paycheck. So basically, it's not even a job anymore. It's indentured slavery.
Yep. And it's
Yeah.
all by design. I mean, the whole system, this is neoliberalism. This, when we talk about Reaganomics or Thatcherism and all of that, this is what this is. Okay. They want the sole principle of neoliberalism is to destroy the working class or the middle class, depending on the country you're in. Okay. And to make it that you don't own anything and all power, wealth, and property ownership is transferred to the richest few. And like the person said at the end, which is obvious to anyone with half a brain, is that this is an oligarchy. This is returning back. This is why, like Yanis Varoufakis, the kind of former finance minister of Greece, who walked out when Tsipras basically cucked to the German banks, instead of just putting his foot down, saying, "Nah, fuck it, we're going to end austerity. Punish us all you want. We'll kick up a fuss about it." But he said he just cucked to the banks, made him look stupid, and it destroyed Syriza, etc., etc. But he said we're living in an era of techno-feudalism, and that's exactly what it is. It's techno-feudalism. We're back to the
It's
feudal
feudalism.
era.
It's feudalism all the way. It's fucking,
Yeah.
use my language, but it's getting to the point where I think of this as, if I had to pick an example, England in, the 1400s, where people worked the land and the baron owned the house and the land they worked on, and they scraped by enough after giving everything to that baron, just had enough to eat and didn't have health care and died at age 35.
This is where we are now. I mean, prime example is your house. Once upon a time here in England, we had fantastic supply of council housing, and you could just, if you could never afford your own house, you could get a council house. we sold all of that. We've sold our assets to the owner class. Okay, so our housing is all owned by private landlords. The shops, commercial properties are all owned by private developers. The councils don't own them, and this is what's destroyed the kind of high street. So if you look back at Oxford Street for a period had become nothing but these like American candy stores. We had literally been flooded with them. You know what ones I'm talking about, isn't it, Zam?
Oh yeah, all over Oxford Street. I see them all the bloody time, and they are fronts basically for money laundering, Ponzi schemes and stuff like that. But I just want to also quickly also add that what annoys me the most in the situation that we're in is us, because there are people who don't know who the true enemy is. They blame immigrants for so much of this shit that's going on with us right now. It annoys the hell out of me. And not only that, but as Chris mentioned, you've got people who also defend the billionaires on top of that as well. And until we all get our shit together and get united, we're never going to fight the true common enemy, which are the very rich people. If anything, some people admire them for being super rich, even super cruel. At the same time, they love all of that, which is why people like Trump and Elon Musk are so heavily worshipped.
Mate, just you can carry on, but the bit where you said admire them for being super cruel, nail on the head.
Yeah,
they love that shit.
Yeah,
they think that people deserve their punishment, and all this kind
themselves.
of shit. Yeah, they deserve it, and it's like. And, again, to Christine's point about, you used to earn a wage where you could survive and all of this. So, when I was a little kid, my dad worked in a factory. My mum worked in Boots. And it was more than enough for them to save up and get a house. Now, the house they bought at the time wasn't worth a lot of money. And obviously now, all housing everywhere is worth an absolute fortune, to the point where people can't afford it. And the worst part is like, you'll put your house up for sale. Okay, in my area, because it's one of the few cheapest areas left in London, if I put my house up for sale tomorrow, it gets sold yesterday, as the saying goes. All right. But for a lot of areas, there's loads of empty housing, empty properties that are, or they've just been snapped up by Arabs, Chinese, or Russians,
and Japanese.
Afford them. And we've got thousands of empty properties here because nobody can afford to live in them anymore. And the whole system is ridiculously expensive. Like, when the council owned the houses, okay, it meant that the council controlled how much the rent was. They could go in and do all the repairs. But, okay, and so they helped maintain their budgets. But because it's all owned by private landlords and the council still helps people in need, that thousands and millions of pounds is just going into the hands of private landlords now, because the council still has an obligation to help people on low incomes. And it's just, this is where the inefficiencies and expense, and how capitalism is inefficient and expensive and actually costs us more. And so when I hear these dickheads talking about, oh, we need to save here and make all these cuts and all that, I go, motherfucker, take back the properties, okay, end landlordism, and you've saved yourself billions, absolute billions there. You can reset your budgets and everything just on housing alone, guys.
But no, sorry, Christine, did you want to go first?
No, I'm after you.
Guys, go.
But I mean, I thought that's what subsidized housing was supposed to be for, was to plug up those flaming overcharging landlord knobheads, and to make it more affordable for people who want to get to their first house or the first property or somewhere that they can rent for a reasonable price. I thought that's what subsidized housing was for.
Well, this is what it was for. And then Thatcher came along and said, you know what, you could buy your council house. Well, on paper, that looks good, but in principle, that created the massive housing disaster that we're living in now, because the house that you were living in was owned by the council. Now it's owned by you, and then you own it. And because it was cheap to buy, a lot of rich landlords were able to snap up thousands of council properties. Whereas in reality, it shouldn't exist. There should be the two systems. It's owned by the council, And then if you want your nice own house, you go off and you get it. And you were able to do that because you were paying peanuts. Okay, you were paying peanuts in your rent. Your rent was like nothing. You know what I mean? So that gave you a chance to save up and be comfortable. And there was no pressure to move out. You had your council house. You could live there. You could stay there. You know, you could never have to move out. You're just always going to be paying rent to the council. And then when you die, that house gets freed up for someone else. It's a great system. People always think that, you know, you've got to own your property because to own your property is an asset and it's a value and all that. Right, in this system. But if you don't have this system and you don't have an ownership class, you're looked after your whole life. Your children growing up don't need to worry about having assets that go up in value because, you know, the system looks after them. They don't, you know, university would be free and your job would pay well enough where you'd never have to worry about all this kind of crap. But the system we have now, right now, it's just feudalism and it's ridiculous. And in America, this is why your properties are skyrocketed and rent's unaffordable because BlackRock, especially BlackRock, are the you know, the private equity firm that are buying everything up. And you know who BlackRock are. They're the ones that have their fingers in every war all over the world. So yeah, it's crazy. Christine.
Yeah, a couple things. Originally, guys, the council houses, you paid rent, but it went back to the council. Now it's going back to private landowners and homeowners, and they take that money and they buy more homes. But they're not charging the rent that the councils used to charge. They're inflating that rent so that there's a housing crisis. So that's the problem, I believe, with that. Second, I've seen maps of many cities, but London in particular, where they put red dots on houses or homes or businesses owned by outside countries from outside England. And they've remained empty because it makes more sense for those owners to snatch up prime real estate, hold on to it for a decade, and then sell it. Not to rent it out and make money, because that's just peanuts, not worth the time they're spending on that, gaining a management firm or whatever, and keeping the home up to date and safe. So you've got that added on to the housing crisis. Add to that you're not getting a minimum wage that allows you to support yourself. Add that to the housing problem. And again, I tried to explain this to my buddy online, who's the small business owner. And he's like, well, business owners, we have, salaries to pay and overhead. I said, true. And your business should be capable of doing that. But there are businesses out there owned by billionaires that have easily covered those costs, then taken the rest and put it towards their shareholders and themselves, and then hidden that money offshore, not returning it to your country's economic system, so that things aren't bought in your country, products that would be made there aren't now being sold. So those businesses aren't making money, and they're generally the smaller businesses that depend on cash flow for me and you to go out and buy milk and stuff like that. So it's the billionaires. And I truly believe that once you've made, say, I'm going to be generous, you make $25 million. Fine, you pay the normal taxes up to that. But once you make $1 over that amount, I want a hardcore tax on anything over that 25 mil.
90%.
Yeah.
90%.
I was going to be generous and say
That used
70.
to be the old top rate. That used to be the rate. Zam had his hand up first, Gaz, then I'll come to you.
We'll get to two things. Ron, I don't have a ceiling fan, and if I did, I wouldn't have it on because I wouldn't want my birds turning into KFC. Secondly, Rick B, this comment here you mentioned a lot earlier. If you won hundreds of millions in the lottery, would you give it away or invest in property? Let's say, for argument's sake, I did invest in property. You know what I would do? I'll be one of the first landlords to offer a really good rate. Obviously, I would want to make a bit of profit, but not horrendous. You know what I mean? I would make, but I've got so much bloody money now, I wouldn't have to worry about making lots of profit. My mind would be going into making life better for other people. That's how I think as a person. And if I got hundreds of millions as well, obviously the people in this group chat right now will be getting some of it, because I wouldn't need it all, because it's just too much money, more money than I would ever need. I would want to improve people's lives as well as my own. That's what it's all about. But when you're hoarding it like these guys who have more money than they'll ever need, they are ruining the economy, they're ruining society, and they need to be targeted big time.
And you could
Yep.
do both. You could take that money, give some away, and then take the rest, invest it, make even more money, and give that money away, or invest it in, training programs, food banks, housing, all sorts of things. You could do both.
Well, you mentioned
Yeah.
greed was
Guys.
one of the issues we have, so I'll try to resort that by obviously making life better for people.
Right.
Yeah, Gaz, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, what needs to happen is there needs to be legislation made that landlords could only charge so much for their rent. If there should be a cap on it. So, like for example, I can understand it being more expensive in somewhere like London, because London tends to be more higher wages than the rest of the country. And I'm not saying that's everywhere. I'm just saying in the area itself tends to be more higher wages than the rest of the country, right? So it makes sense that it's higher. But everywhere else, there should be a flat rate. It is for everybody. It should be, I say, about like minimum 300 quid. Maximum 300 quid.
Not a week or a
No,
month.
it depends. The
A
problem
month.
is with landlordism is we're paying their fucking mortgage. So first of all, you have to cover their mortgage, then whatever else, because that's like
Maintenance.
Well, when you buy a property to rent out, you want like a minimum of 5 to 6%. Is it yield or whatever it's called? Back on that. That's a kind of what you want here. So look, so if we go to Rick.
6 is
That's what I do.
reasonable.
I make reasonable profit and charge under market rate. For example, my management agency said the market value of my flats is 1,700, but I mean, even that alone is
It's
just
ridiculous.
That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
People don't even make
And,
that a month.
like, no offense to you, Rick. Look, Rick. Again, I'm not going to chastise you because this is a system we're in, and if people can make from it, great. What else can you do? Personally, I just wouldn't have landlords. I'd have everything owned by the council, and then if you want to move up in life, you want to get your nicer house, then there's that. But you're never allowed to rent that property out. You can have a lodger or whatever you want, but you cannot rent that property out at all. Like that's your property, you stay there. If you have to vacate that property to go off into your fucking holiday home or whatever, then that property still stays empty, or you sell it. It's simple as that. Never creating landlords ever again, because they don't benefit society at all.
Rent
Yeah,
cuts don't
and
work.
I think
Sorry.
No.
I really want to address this as a landlord.
Okay.
Ginger, I actually agree with you. And in this type of world that we envision, that would be perfect. Until then, and I think you've already said this, there are some people in the lower incomes like myself. We're forced to do it. And I do it so I can maintain my house and afford the mortgage. But I also do it because the people I am renting out rooms to need the space, and it's at half the price they'd normally pay. So until then, there are a few incidences, because I'm going to defend myself, where it has to be done. But I want it to be like you've just envisioned it. I think that's perfect.
I'm not chastising like people who have like currently 1 or 2 properties, and it's mainly to like fucking survive. It's the system we're in. If we were out of that system, you wouldn't need to do what you need to do. And that's why I'm not going to shit on Rick for being a property owner. That's the system. Well, it's not so much communism, it's socialism, but you don't need landlords. Like landlordism doesn't need to work. And there are plenty of, listen, socialism built this country after the war, Rick. All right. Socialism is what gave people their workers' rights.
The
It's what gives
NHS.
people time off work. It's what gave us the NHS. It's what gave us the council houses that had to eliminate the out of control fucking owner class. Okay. It's putting things into public ownership. All right. It's more democratized because everything's about local democracies and committees coming together. It's not the common. Don't look at again, people often see communism like Stalin and China and all this kind of shit. China is too authoritarianism. That's not communism by design. Okay, China is authoritarianism that offers the principles of Marxist Leninism. Okay, but it's still not proper communism, because proper communism, okay, when people say, oh, it's just one government, it's one government, but it's not one person in power. It's a change. There should always be a change of people and coming in, because different generations have different needs and all this kind of shit, and that's recognized. All right, this is still a bunch of dumb old farts who want power and are absolutely corrupt with it. Like Xi Jinping absolutely shits on the principles of communism because he's the sole person in power, and that's not how it should be. Okay, Vietnam, although again authoritarianism, is kind of more closer to the principles of communism, because what they did in Vietnam is they've eradicated poverty and they made sure that all the basic needs of everyone is met, and that's why they have such a good quality of life out there. All right, the Scandinavian countries built themselves up purely based on socialist principles. And the Americans, funnily enough, wanted to fucking invade those countries as a result of that. People don't often talk about that. So please don't tell me communism and socialism doesn't work. They do work. They work too well. And that is why countries like Britain, the US, and France go into those socialist countries and fucking decimate them, destroy them, install their puppets, and strip those countries of all their assets. The whole world is completely fucked because of capitalism. All right? So, don't tell me it doesn't work. It works very, very well. And in fact, I can even use Russia as a prime example, because Russia, although again it was authoritarian after the fall of Stalinism, it still democratized a whole lot greater than what it was under him. And the people's quality of life skyrocketed. The West will show you the fake news of like queues for food and all this kind of shit. What they don't tell you is that the illegal sanctions imposed on Russia just simply for being communist, and this is something endemic everywhere. So
Same
Russia
with Venezuela.
Russia had to be more insular because it wasn't allowed to export its labor and its goods to the world because of the capitalist countries. All right, and then eventually it had no choice but to collapse. But had it been allowed to run as normal, and look at Russia, just go and see what happened to Russia after the collapse of communism. The people that grew up in communism will tell you they longed for the days of communism. Why? Because Russia essentially became anarcho-capitalist after the fall of communism. It created a huge mafia class. People's poverty skyrocketed, illiteracy skyrocketed. Everything got worse in Russia. Everything got worse in Russia after the fall of communism. So, and now the best capitalism the best system is not capitalism with a tiny bit of socialism. It's socialism, because there is still capitalism within socialism. Fuck's sake, we're not saying. Don't worry, guys. I see you. We're not saying you can't be rich under socialism. We're saying you can't be too fucking rich. That's it. It doesn't stop you from making your money. It doesn't stop you. It just makes sure that the basic needs of everyone is met and there is no poverty. That is it. It's that simple. Gaz.
Zam was first.
Oh, Zam. I didn't even see your hand up, Zam.
I did a couple of times, but you were ranting so much you probably missed it. Okay, so how I would do rent is like this. When it comes to negotiating your rent with the landlord, why are you guys chirping that, for fuck's sake? When it comes to negotiating your rent with your landlord, find out what the bills will be to rent in that particular place. So what your water is, your electricity is, council tax, whatever it may be. If that, whatever that may be, just say you double it, and that should be your rent, in my opinion. So if your bills come up to maybe £250, your rent should be £500 a month, in my opinion. That's good enough for the landlord, and it's cheap enough for you to live reasonably well, because earning £500 a month should be a given, in my opinion. If that's too much for some people, I mean, I'm just going for the maximum here, by the way. I think your bills within the month shouldn't even come up to 250 quid. It will probably be a lot less than that. But all I'm saying is that your bills, double that, that's your rent. That should be good enough.
That doesn't cover the mortgage though, because don't forget, landlord doesn't. A lot of landlords now, they don't flat out own their property. They're paying a low rate on the mortgage because they're getting you to pay for it for them. So the burden of the mortgage falls on you, not on the landlord, and hence why they charge so much.
I guess. I mean, you are hoping.
I get where you're coming from, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, you are hoping that they have got the mortgage covered, but if they don't, then yeah, I guess that's the bit that I guess that obviously maybe some changes would have to come, but still, like paying $1,500 a month for rent, which is what Rick B's doing, I find ridiculous because people earn only $1,500 a month. If you're making $1,500 a month after tax, then you're basically earning $24,000 a year, roughly, give or take, and that's before tax. Not everyone's doing that. People are still on minimum wage. Like these prices are just not reasonable. There needs to be. I don't know. I haven't got the answer for everything. I'm hoping maybe an answer will present itself. But you can. I'm at least explaining the problems with our current system.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
But the other big problem that people aren't talking about is the fact that a lot of the landlords also like exploit their people. So like they'll like not do what they're supposed to do, which is like fix stuff or do any sort of like reasonable repair. Like for example, there's like stories about like them like living basically squalor. And the thing is that it under like as I said, like council ownership, they have a duty of care because you're living in basically one of their houses and it represents their area. So if it depreciates if your house is bad, it depreciates the area, which makes their budget go down. So they've got a vested interest in making sure that the upkeep of your house is reasonable. But also the other reason that I'm a huge socialist is because people should not be paying large amounts for their water utilities.
I fell down.
And I'm sorry, I find it completely ridiculous that people have to pay like 200, 300 quid for like a month for their water when they should be paying like 50 tops.
Well, again, I mean, this is because everything is owned by private companies.
Yeah.
We nothing's publicly owned. If you did have everything publicly owned, we wouldn't be paying all these extortionate amounts. I mean, it's Thatcherism, mate. This is what it is. This is neoliberalism. You don't own anything. You pay everything through the nose. We've got all three of the top political parties, because I know people forget about the Lib Dems, but they're around. All right, they still fall into the principles of just offering no change whatsoever. They still cuck to the owner class and all that, and that's why the Greens are kind of surging in popularity now, because all the idiots that finally left Labour are now kind of shifted over to the Greens, and but yeah, you need radical change. You need a revolution. You need the billionaire class needs to be cold, basically, offed, done. That's how you guarantee world peace these days, Zam.
No, just saying, like the Greens are the new Labour Party in a way. Like they are pretty much, because Labour voters are going with the Greens. I mean, they want to find a party that expresses their political ideology, and that's now the Green Party. I mean, a party name is just a name. The Tories could easily be left wing if they wanted to. It's just a name. You know what I mean? But so you just go with the people that hold your ideology. What's his name? Ron said here earlier, I rent out the 2 extra bedrooms in my house to disabled seniors since I'm 1 too. Okay, fair enough. They really appreciate what they get for low rent. That's nice of you, dude.
Okay, I've never had an issue with lodging. Like,
sorry, you press it.
Get rid of it. I've never had an issue with lodging. Like lodging, it's within your house, and again, as long as you don't exploit it, it's fine. You know what I mean? It's when you have a whole other property that could be used for a family to kind of purchase for cheap, but you're hoarding all the properties. That's where I have the issue, because again, if I say no, you can't lodge, then that's too much government oversight. But if I'm saying, look, based on the principle of the betterment of society, no, there shouldn't be landlords. The council is your landlord, and then you can go off and afford to buy your own property. The capitalist market is literally just one big Ponzi scheme. Everyone's like, oh, this is worth this and that. When you strip it down, it's like, no, it isn't. It's like the diamonds. Okay, so the diamonds are the perfect example of the current capitalist system, because De Beers diamonds, okay, they did this whole marketing thing of telling you that diamonds are rare, and so that's why they're expensive. Diamonds are not rare. There are just as much diamonds out there as is anything else. They're not rare at all. They're actually worthless, completely worthless. But we've created this entire industry, this whole exploitation, gone to wars over diamonds. I mean, fucking blood diamonds is a prime example, on the false notion that diamonds are worth something, are of any value, but they're not. And that is capitalism in a nutshell. We create value out of nothing, and it's completely valueless. When you're saying your company's worth billions, it's worth billions now because you got a nice big government handout. And what did you do with that government handout? You didn't help your workers. You bought all your stock back, inflating the value of your company. So it's just a fucking big Ponzi scheme, Christine.
Yeah, so many people don't realize that De Beers goes out of its way to buy up and hoard diamonds. They have vaults full and full and full and full of diamonds, and then tell you they're rare so that you pay more for a rock. A beautiful rock, but they're not rare. De Beers has gone out of its way to make them seem that way, and I can't believe this is so not common knowledge. It's depressing.
Yeah,
I always find
again,
it weird.
sorry,
I always find it weird, the length people go to fight over rock and metal, like golden diamonds, like it's ridiculous because when you look at it at its rawness, it is just metal. It's just a fucking stone, and people go crazy for that shit. I want you to respond to this comment here, Ginger. What do you think of what Daniel Vance says?
Democratic, revolutionary, libertarian, market, green, welfare, anarcho-utopian, Christian. There are so many types of socialism. So the socialism on the libertarian side, it's social libertarianism, which is what we all are here. Okay, there's a big difference between being a fiscal socialist and a libertarian capitalist, which is, far right. Democratic socialism, that's kind of like center, left. So it's a bit like your Bernie Sanders. Revolutionary socialism is what we need. Market socialism is just basically fucking capitalism. So bollocks to that. Green socialism is just, it's just socialism. Be it democratic, be it revolutionary, be it libertarian, it all falls under there. Anarcho-socialism, I have no idea what the fuck that is. Christian socialism is basically
Christian socialism.
Yeah, it's close to what Greece is. You know what I mean? It's like following the actual tenets of Christianity, which is socialism. It's taking care of the needy and the poor and all this kind of shit. So yeah, and Vance has this rebuttal here for you, Christine. I'm sorry, I can't pay attention to anything but Christine's cookies. I think my meds are working.
These are from a food bank, actually, and they are oatmeal with cranberries.
I thought with the decriminalization of cannabis in your country, there'd have something else in it.
Chrissy, do you want to say something? Sorry, I was going to say, Chrissy, do you want to say something before I go?
I think it would be great if Christians actually followed the true teachings of Christ and did perform the type of socialism, not all of it, but what he tried to teach, if he were true and real, and did what Ginger was saying, like most people do in Greece. Not everyone, but Unfortunately,
but
there are
yeah.
also a bunch of hypocrites in the church, and they don't follow those tenets.
In a country like America, if it was, which with all this massive Bible Belt stuff and stuff like that, with its massive Christian heritage, they would be a million miles away from being a capitalistic nation if they truly followed what was in the Bible. You know,
And they're the poorest states with the most poverty, and you think
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a thing.
yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I'm a Christian socialist. But also, I was just going to say, like, the thing is, with the thing you just brought up about diamonds is so true. Like, they literally put people into bloody slavery to get them to flaming buy for this shit. It's like, how is that legal in 2024? I mean, like, we've got loads of conventions. Is it like a blind spot? Do they just pay people off? I mean, like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, it's very simple, mate. You go in, you pay unscrupulous people to kind of seize land where the valuable stuff is, and then those people are just going to bring in labor to exploit because it maximizes their profits. It's not just diamonds; it's everything. You know, people talk about green technology and batteries and cars and all this kind of shit. It's one of the most exploited markets is for lithium and the other stuff. Congo right now is going through a huge genocide just because of this very thing. Yet again, we are sitting there exploiting Africa. And if people be like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" I'll give you a prime example. Elon Musk, everybody's favorite sugar daddy, okay, openly said that they have a divine right to go and cause a coup in Bolivia to obtain their lithium supplies. All right. After the Americans had a hissy fit because Bolivia seized back control from their puppet and everyone had a fucking meltdown. I was like, that's what we're dealing with. And that is Africa in a nutshell, even to this day. There are countries trying to fight back against that, and you'll see them being vilified, or you'll see like them suddenly going to a civil war. And because they're kicking out, like, so Nigeria and things like that, they're kicking out the French and the Americans and all this kind of shit, Ghana as well, because they're sick of it. They're sick of the exploitation and their countries going to war as a result of colonization.
And
Yes,
And-
he's your dead daddy. Yeah, carry on, Christine. Yeah.
a lot of those countries, people don't realize that the CIA, because the American government orders them to, goes in there and seeds doubt, divides people so that they do have civil wars. So the unstable country can then be exploited for lithium and other things as well. I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely. Some Fox News people think $20 an hour is too much. They have not paid rent or bought groceries. Yeah. Unless they're in that situation.
This isn't fast food. And what really annoyed me the most when I'm listening to these motherfuckers on Fox News and stuff talking about how working in this industry, earning $20 an hour is too much money for people who work in the fast food industry. These guys haven't got a clue how hard it is to work in that industry. They really feel that because somehow you're serving burgers, you're not valued enough and you shouldn't be earning good money. Whilst these bastards who do maybe 1 hour a day or sitting on their ass doing a bloody podcast or working on news, who earn millions, in America, feel that they're justified to earn the money they earn by basically telling other people how to live. Have a problem with people who bust their asses every day, earning, working in industry that we all need because fast food is very popular. McDonald's is one of the most biggest franchises in the world. So yeah, they should earn decent money if that's the case, because that company is making a shitload of money and their staff needs to earn more money. Simple as that.
Yep, Christine.
Okay. Two things. Those very
Fox
people,
News
I
says
saw
that.
them on Fox News. I know what you're talking about. That one guy saying that $20 was too much because it was simple work. They deserve $25 based on the fact that those same assholes that were judging them go in there and act a fool and treat those people behind the counter like shit. And they don't get paid enough to put up with the people from Fox News just coming in to order a burger. It's unfair. And like I said earlier, a job is meant to pay you money so that you may live in return for services. And the service you provide in a public setting where you have to deal with the public is hard. I don't care what the actual job part is, whether it's flipping burgers or not. Customers are assholes.
Yep, guys.
Yeah, like I mean, like this is Fox News, the dose of reality doesn't really matter. But McDonald's is actually one of the few conglomerates that actually pays its people pretty well. Like I think they earn pretty well. They're not like the cooperative. Now, places like the cooperative should be some places that other business models people follow, because actually the people who own that and the people who work in the businesses, they own a percentage of the actual business. So if the company makes money, they make money. And that should be a business model that is popular throughout the West. Because
that's what Tesco used to do, but they stopped doing that as well, because they stopped making £1 for every £8 spent in this country used to be spent at Tesco's. So staff workers were getting those dividends. But in the last decade, Tesco kind of stopped doing that because they want to maximize their profits. I'll come to you in a second, Zam. Rick, no, $20 an hour doesn't equal a $15 Big Mac, because people are earning $5 an hour now, for example, and the Big Mac is $15. Okay, it's just greed. So because people, and again, we've always said this, when people earn more money, the vultures of the capitalist class start jacking up their prices because they think, oh, more profits for me. Lately, you don't even need to lie. And again, this is the biggest lie they'll ever tell you, because we are in record inflation now with record corporate profits. And guess what? Our wages have gone down. In the UK, our wages have gone down 12% relative to inflation and the cost of living. They haven't gone up. So even if you get that extra £5, your wages have still gone up. In order for people to be anywhere near what they should be in this country, the minimum wage should be £25 an hour. Okay, people talk about £15 an hour. £15 an hour is what they were talking about when Obama was in charge. Shit's changed then. The minimum wage now, especially in London, should be £25 an hour. All right, it's that simple. And again, before people argue, don't forget we used to live in a system where inflation and wages kept pace. All right, and people were able to afford life. But since Thatcherism, since neoliberalism came in, that went out the window, and it just went like this, and every wage just kind of just plateaued and has gone down. They might show you that wages have gone up a bit, okay, but they've gone down. We're poorer now than we've ever been in the post-war era. So, Zam.
Yeah, I would just also want to add, regarding those dickheads on Fox News, they wouldn't last 5 minutes working in McDonald's. You know, they'll be so out of breath, and they'll be already feeling pain in their back from having to clean all the tables and mopping all the goddamn floors, and cleaning fucking toilets, shit like that. They'll be done. They'll probably give in their P45 and get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? Because they just couldn't handle it. And on top of that, regarding like $20 an hour, if it means a CEO who's earning maybe $100 million a year, maybe earning, I don't know, a little bit less, maybe down to 10 million. I don't care what it is, whether it be 75, 50, down to 10 million a year. If it means working class people earn a shed load more money, I'm all for it, because the CEO is always going to be earning a fantastic wage, whether it be 10 million or 100 million. They're going to earn more money than they'll ever need. They'll be sorted for life. Yeah, what matters the most is the people in the front line. We realize that in COVID, how frontline workers are fundamental in every aspect of our lives. Everything we do, we look down upon these people because of the jobs they do, but they have the most important jobs for all of us. They need to get paid handsomely. And I'm not just talking a living wage, a life wage, like a wage that they can, they don't have, when they're not working, they can go out and enjoy life, go over where the hell they want, and working at McDonald's or not, it shouldn't matter. Not everybody's career needs to be a pencil pusher. Laboring work is fundamental, and you should get paid very handsomely, because it is physically very demanding.
And it's more demanding now since we've had like Just Eat apps and all this kind of Uber Eats stuff come in. People with McDonald's are working 10 times more now than what they used to, and it's twice as hard. the job now. Like there's never like a low period anymore. It's constant. I know because I went in there. What was it, a few months ago to take a nice shit, and just seeing how frantic they were working and the bikes in and out. Zoom here. I was like, it was pandemonium. You can't like. You wouldn't even want to sit in a McDonald's anymore to just kind of fucking relax. Like you can't because it's just constant. Like
Also,
So they
like
deserve more money.
nothing's wasted anymore. Before, when you go to McDonald's and stuff, there'll be burgers in those trays and stuff. If there's one ready to go, they'll do it. Everything's made to order now. Nothing is
Yeah.
wasted. Yeah, so they're not wasting any money and shit like that. Everything they buy is getting sold. You know what I mean? So for that reason alone, they should also raise wages as well because it's they need to treat their staff better. They're the ones who are making rich people rich, so give them a better
Yeah.
wage.
Some McDonald's in our area don't take orders if you're not ordering from the app. I mean, that just fucking says it all. Well, Rick B, people working in McDonald's need to eat and live somewhere, so either pay them a good wage or they go on welfare. Yeah, and then that's the other thing. What you don't want is you will end up like a Walmart situation or everywhere situation, because again, because the principles of social care in this country, when you're not earning enough money to survive, the council and the government have to subsidize your rent or your council tax. Okay, so in order so you don't become completely fucking poor, even though that's not really working, you are completely poor. But it costs us money. It costs the government money, people money when wages are being exploited, because we then our taxes have to cover that deficit. All right, so the entire system is inefficient and it costs us more. If we switch to if we switch to the principles of socialism tomorrow, we would literally pay off that fucking our deficits in no time. Of course, on the principle is you'd write it off anyway because it's all fucking arbitrary and money doesn't actually fucking mean anything in this world anymore. It's just literally a form of control over us. For the billionaire class, they literally own the bank, so they just give themselves money or fucking print money anyway. So this is what people need to understand. Like the whole system is just inefficient and it costs governments more. This is why you see 2 trillion worth of debt in this country, because we are constantly subsidizing for the owner class, always in everything. They socialize the losses, but they capitalize the profits. So let's everyone needs to reset their way of thinking, and it's just logical. Like I've said before a million times, my sister-in-law's friend worked for the Bank of England, and in 2019, okay, when me and my sister-in-law were having this conversation, because she's dumb and she thinks, under Corbyn things would be worse. I'm like, no, under Corbyn you'd just pay an extra £20 a month because you're high earners. That's literally it. And he chimed in and he said, I have to, despite me earning a good wage, despite my position that I'm in, you cannot argue against the fiscal manifesto of Corbyn's Labour, because it was solid economics. Because of course it is. It's very simple. When everything is owned by the government, public utilities are owned
by the
people,
government, genuinely by the people.
Genuinely by the people, then yes, of course society is going to profit from it. I mean, it's literally like, and it does my nutting, because we're supposed to be governed by intelligent people, and they are intelligent because they know how to exploit the system, and they know that sharing the wealth is actually sustainable, but that's not what they want. Their principle is greed and cruelty.
This is why I have a problem with.
You need to reset your brain.
This is why
about capitalism, Zam.
This is why I have a problem with libertarianism, because they're constantly going on about big government, not realizing that if they influence, the people themselves influence the government in the right way, they will be the big government themselves. Look at Scandinavian countries, places like Germany and Holland as well. The amount of power the people have, even in France as well, the amount of power the general public have when it comes to what they can do, the ownerships they have over so many things. So people don't realize, regarding government, you can be that government. And what's the alternative? Corporations where you don't have a say in shit. There's no democracy over that. People who are too busy trying to make profits instead of giving you necessarily the best product, and not investing back into the infrastructure at all whatsoever, because it's all about making money and everything else is secondary. So yeah, this is why libertarianism doesn't work for me. It's just ideally it might sound great with big evil, scary big government, but the reality is we are the government. We are not a corporation, because they are owned by individuals. And yeah, I would never want them to have a say on my life ever.
Well, libertarianism, it doesn't fucking work. Liz Truss is a libertarian. In 90 days, she destroyed this economy even more than what it is. This is why now we have massive housing crisis, and landlords can't even afford to get tenants in to pay their fucking rents, those fucking vultures. So now we're in a situation where, like, everything's fucked. And that was Liz Truss, and that was libertarian policies on, like, completely cutting taxes on the rich and whatever other bollocks she did. And Argentina right now has a libertarian leader, and he's destroyed their economy. And he's not even been in there for like 6 months. So it doesn't work, and it never will work. And libertarians piss me off, because you tell them this is the libertarian system we're living now, where corporations have complete control and you own nothing, and you think that it'll be any different under an actual libertarian system? No, you're still going to have somebody controlling everything. And it's just, yeah, fuck libertarians. I can't stand them. Dickheads.
Anyway, you mentioned Elon Musk. Sorry, not Elon Musk. The president of Javier Milei. Is that his name? I believe?
Yeah. We can move on.
Let's quickly do a little bit of this before I want to do my main thing. But let's do a bit of this.
Elon being done this week.
All right. So what I want to show you is this I saw on.
Wait! Before we go on, I want to make points that we're gonna swipe past before I can even make them, because we've moved on. Can we do that really quick? Someone had brought up earlier that the Big Mac price will go up. There's the only reason that would happen is that the people that run McDonald's would like to appease their stock owners. They're already making enough money. Yeah. There's no reason for the McDonald's to increase their prices. The only reason that a CEO wants that is on top of what they get paid annually, which is an obscene amount of money, is the more they make for their investors, the bigger their end of year bonus will be. So don't let them lie to you and say that if we increase the wages for the workers, the prices of food go up for that reason. It's not true. Walmart knows they're underpaying their people, so much so that they run courses for their employees on how to collect food stamps and other government subsidies. So they know what's going on. They're assholes. I remember when I started nursing, I didn't nurse for very long before I broke my back, but I was told I was going to make $22 an hour. I was over the moon. Then I started nursing, and I thought, holy shit, I should be making triple this for the amount of work I'm doing, for the amount of care, for the amount of life saving I'm doing. This is obscene. And I have I thought that was a brilliant amount of money. And now I'm thinking, you know what? Food workers should be making more than that. So anyway, and if you're against welfare, then you should be against corporate welfare as well, because they're the biggest offenders. Don't go after the welfare queens. They're a drop in the bucket, the ones that actually abuse the system, which are very few. It's the companies that get the big bucks from your taxes that are abusing you, and you don't even know it. So wake the fuck up. Fourth and last thing, anyone who brings up, again, in my eyes, that people don't deserve a minimum wage or a living wage should be forced to live on minimum wage and work in a place like McDonald's. Like you said, Zam, they wouldn't last an hour. But in this case, if they're forced to do it and had to live off that wage, they'd have to stay. And I'd like to see their opinion after 6 months. That's all.
I agree. So Elon Musk, I saw some stuff on him on Twitter, and I thought I should bring it up because it made me want to. When I saw this clip, I wanted a projectile vomit. He really is truly going into pure evil territory right now. So here he is with Javier Milei, thumbs upping. You know, like what the hell? Like, I mean, just seeing these two together, it triggered me. Because you can tell that he's a horrible person, Elon Musk, by being with this guy who's also a degenerate too, who's going to basically destroy Argentina and sell it off to its highest bidder. And then here they are again, shaking hands.
Well, he's going to be one of the people exploiting Argentina.
Yeah, he can't wait.
Can't
Is going to basically let him do that. He's going to basically red carpet him for Argentina to destroy it.
It's too bad that they're not sharing the other pictures where Musk is from that guy for all this.
I'm not sure if there's anything more regarding these two here regarding Musk, but just that alone was infuriated me.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, the exploitation that's about to come from that is just, it's a fucking payday for the billionaire class because now, America's like, we have one of our own in there and we're just going to exploit the shit. Fuck Argentina. We're going to plunge it further into poverty. And, fuck Argentina anyway. I can't stand that country. So, whatever, man.
There's already people rioting on the streets over what Malay's doing and stuff like that. But he's going to have a cult personality like Donald Trump, like Bolsonaro had. They're going to be people who are going to worship the ground he walks on, and he can do no wrong because he's got that Trump Bolsonaro aspect about him where he will have a cult, following. So, yeah, be prepared for that. Anyway, you ready for the next segment?
Just quickly, I'll just say with Bolsonaro, one of the big issues with Brazil that nobody talks about is again evangelicalism. It has such a huge too much of a cult influence in Brazil because again it's easy to do that because of the mass poverty in Brazil. So yeah, that's why Bolsonaro was able to kind of raise to power. And you shouldn't scoff at evangelicals. They need to be treated with ruthlessly in Brazil. Okay, on to the next segment. Sorry, Zam.
Oh, are you back, Chris? Hurry up and sit down.
I'm listening.
No, I want you to watch. I don't want you to sit and listen. I want you to watch.
Okay, I'm watching.
All right, here we go.
Fucking Sandy.
I did that just for this show. You know what I mean? Because my goodness indeed, yeah. Like what has happened these last 7 days regarding the solar eclipse in America, you would have thought this was the first and only ever solar eclipse to ever happen. But because of Trumpism and obviously the way social media rots people's brains nowadays, the conspiracy theories are full alert. Now, before I get on to any of that, first of all, I want to start off with this one clip I came across. Where is it? Please don't tell me I got rid of it by accident. Oh no, I haven't. Okay, fair enough. Okay, this is from an Australian news channel, and this kind of gets the ball rolling, so to speak, regarding the eclipse that's happened this past week in America.
And there we are. We are at the moment right now. I'm looking up. Look up. You can look up. Can you take the camera up, Chris?
Hi, I'm Paul Barry. And in case you missed it, the sun rose this week. And so did the moon, passing right in front of it. And boy, oh boy, were reporters excited.
Look at that! Woo! Yes! Look how dark it is. Look at this.
That was so cool. It feels like nighttime.
Yes, it was total eclipse mania. And you'll never guess what happened next.
Wow, look, it's coming. The sun's coming back now all of a sudden. That's crazy.
There we go.
In the media singing in unison.
These Arkansas lovebirds welcomed this total eclipse of the heart.
A total eclipse of the heart.
In what was a total eclipse of the heart.
With reporters donning dodgy-looking glasses to take a peek. But not everyone was impressed with the spectacle, which hid the sun for around 4 minutes across Mexico, the US, and Canada.
I thought it would get darker, to be honest with you.
We pulled over, tried to look at it, didn't see much, and I was a little disappointed, but...
So you did what the police told you not to do?
Yeah, I stared at it.
And the folks at Fox were also worried about what it could mean for border security.
The southern border will be directly in the path of totality today when the moon covers the sun for nearly 4 minutes.
We are told that officials are bracing for higher traffic than usual, and that means a real opportunity for smugglers and cartels and migrants to come right in.
Don't they know it's also dark at night, and night lasts for hours? Meanwhile, USA Today was fact-checking claims on social media that the eclipse was fake. Yes, seriously. What a relief. The claims were false. And talking of nuts, how about this? With the New York Post reporting that a Mexican TV outlet accidentally aired a pair of testicles.
Familia, Piedras Negras.
Talk a pair of balls up, a testicular eclipse of the sun.
Oh, you gotta love the Aussies. You know, they're like, you can tell that they're a chip off the old block because they're just like us. But I got a few more things to show because obviously that's a nice little starter. But there's a little news article here I want to read, and I could have taken it from NBC and all of that, but I thought let's just take it from the right wing network. This is from Fox News. Why do my eyes hurt? Visits to the eye doctor's online searches surge following total solar eclipse. Despite all the warnings to not look at the phases of the total eclipse without safety glasses, queries about eye damage spiked after April 8th total solar eclipse. Google Trends showed a literal spike in searches of why do my eyes hurt? I see spots, and why do I have a headache immediately after the eclipse? So here we go. This is what it had. This is April the 7th. That's April the 9th there, and then boom! Look at this. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. But if you compare the states and metro areas where most of the searches came from and the path of totality, they match quite well. Vermont, Ohio, Indiana, Arkansas all showed a peak interest in headaches after the eclipse. Searches all were in the path of totality. That doesn't surprise doctors who saw concerned patients in the days following the eclipse. Part of the reason that the eclipse is so dangerous is because some of the sun rays are blocked, so it actually is more tolerable than it would be otherwise, said Talia Caden, an ophthalmologist. Hope I said that right. And assistant professor at the Manhattan Ear, Eye, and Throat Hospital in New York City. And so you're able to stare at it for longer. As a result, have more issues. So there you go. That's on that particular thing. So I'm not surprised.
I'm going to go down and get some food. So I'm going to switch to my phone. So it'll be a different angle or so I can hear everything that's still going on.
Go on, Chris.
To say something? Unfortunately, it was cloudy, so I didn't get to see it. But it did get pretty dark here, so I was like, totally forgot that there was going to be an eclipse. And I was like, Jesus, getting darker out. We should be getting more sun this time of year. Like, what's going on? Then I realized I'm an idiot. But this is not my own idea, but this is something I did read on Facebook. And I think it's an interesting thing that scientists can predict exactly where and when solar eclipse happens, right? Using science. They do this quite often. Years, sometimes decades, centuries in advance. They know that these things are coming, right?
I think up to 3,000 years, apparently.
Yeah, using science, right? And even Fox News didn't question it. They report it before it happened, during it, and after it, right? No question, because it's science, right? But as soon as science brings up the fact that they predicted that climate change is a problem, all of a sudden, science is not good enough. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I totally do. And I have actually something on that, by the way.
Okay.
From Marjorie Taylor Greene. Damn, don't tell me I lost it. Where is it? Oh no! Let me quickly find it again. 1 second.
But I mean, yeah, the amount of people like do think doomsday prophecy because of this. It's like literally these happen all the time. What the hell are you talking about? And then, like,
yeah, they happen all the time. As he says. I got something here. 1 second. Where is what I'm really looking for? Okay, this one.
Well, while you're looking, guys, what were you saying more?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, and also like the whole thing of I'm looking at some without glasses. Yeah, like literally, people sold them, or they'll sell something where you can see it. You can say watch it safely. Like, you don't have to hurt your eyes for doing so. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No
you
problem.
Can use a beer bottle and look through a beer bottle.
So MTG doesn't realize that solar eclipses are completely predictable events. We know to the second when they'll happen and where they'll be visible. So we have Marjorie Taylor Greene saying God is sending America a strong sign to tell us to repent. Earthquakes and eclipses and many more things to come. I pray that our country listens. And then obviously, because sometimes now again, even Twitter has to have these sort of rebuttal things just in case people of particular stature are spreading misinformation. There are approximately 1,700 earthquakes in the US every year, about 4 a day. Solar eclipses occur approximately every 18 months, and this is worldwide, I gather, and are able to be predicted well in advance. List of future US eclipses, they can be viewed here. Okay, so they are able to predict these eclipses. These are not something that just happened randomly. But what annoys me the most is that you have this person in Congress in America who is able to create bills and tell you how to live your life, making comments, uneducated comments like this, saying that you have to repent and all this God shit, when it's got nothing to do with it. Eclipses happen just the same way it rains, just the same way you might see a full moon. Yes, it's more of a rarer occurrence, but it is an occurrence that will happen again. The next one will happen in around that part of America for maybe 70 years. But it did happen actually, I think 7 years ago when in the Trump administration, when famously Trump was looking at the eclipse. I'm not sure if you guys remember that when you were at the White House.
I do remember that.
So it did happen 7 years ago in America. So it's happened before. And it's going to happen again. I saw when I was looking for information for tonight's show regarding the eclipse, I came across one chart where from 2100, obviously next century, to 2109, so just 9 years, there'll be 16 eclipses all over the world. 16 just in that 9 year period. So all of this is just absolutely ridiculous, but we got some more. So anyway, go on, Chris.
Just about Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever her stupid name is. Let's say for a second that these aren't naturally occurring, or they're strange, and we don't know the reason why they're occurring. For her, a member of Congress, where there's supposed to be a separation of church and state, she's telling the public to repent.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your job, sweetie. In fact, it's against the rules.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And you can't be telling people who are not even Christian to repent as well. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, here's some clips from TikTok. We'll play 2 or 3. We'll kind of show you what I'm wanting with some of these people when it comes to prophecy.
Did you know that the solar eclipse happening on April 8th is a lot more crucial than you think? Jesus spoke about Matthew that this evil, adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign shall be given to it except for the sign that happened in the days of the prophet Jonah. In Luke, it says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be as the coming of the Son of Man. But you will not believe the path of the solar eclipse will take. It'll cross over several towns named Nineveh and even Rapture, Indiana. But that's not even the crazy part. It also goes over the ark. And it'll happen under the constellation Cetus, which means whale, which is what swallowed up Jonah. Subscribe right now if you want to learn more about Jesus and be ready when he comes back.
Actually,
I feel sorry for you guys that you have people like this in your culture.
the
You know,
Bible doesn't say anything about a whale. It's actually a fish. So this guy, well, obviously is already wrong. He doesn't even know his Bible.
Yeah, they're looking for everything. But you know what? Some of the comments here are really good. Nothing is going to happen. The eclipse will happen, and we'll all go on living. Absolutely right. And this other person's right. It's a solar eclipse, and he's crying. And then one here, I have a question. Not everyone will see the eclipse, right? Only like America. Why does the world end only in America? And it's so bloody true. You know, so anyway, on to the next one.
Now, get a load of this. There has only been, since we become a nation in 1776, there has only been 8 total solar eclipses that have completely crossed the United States. I'm not talking about one that just clips California or Florida. I'm talking that traverses the whole United States horizontally or vertically. There's only been 8 since we became a nation.
Wow.
And guess when they occurred? 2 of them occurred during the Revolutionary War. 3 of them occurred during the Civil War. 2 of them occurred during the Vietnam War.
Pandering to
Only giving a
retards.
hint
Jesus
of what
Christ.
this means.
Oh no.
And so now in the 2000s, there was 2017, and now this one in 2024, and it's like a bullseye, forms an X right over the United States.
All right, I don't want to go with these guys too much, but you can get that they are once again they are just trying to find everything and anything they can to make sense of something that is not a phenomenon. It happens on an irregular basis, but it does happen, and it can be predicted when it happens. It's not just going to happen at the blue moon. Scientists will already know it's going to happen, but like they predicted this one was going to happen, you know, and everyone was talking about it before it happened, and then it did happen, and it was true that it happened on that particular day. The predictions were right by the scientists. This is not biblical stuff, but anyway, let's go to the next clip.
Eclipse will be the realization of a prophecy from the Bible dating back over 2,000 years. On the 8th of April, a unique total solar eclipse will cast parts of the U.S. into midday darkness. What's astonishing is that this eclipse will traverse 8 towns named Nineveh, mirroring the biblical city where Jonah prophesied divine retribution. Additionally, the constellation Cetus, symbolizing a whale, will be visible during the eclipse, echoing the biblical narrative where Jonah is ingested by a whale before he admonishes Nineveh for its sins. Jesus also mentioned Jonah's sign in the scriptures. In Matthew 16:4, Jesus draws upon this story. This astronomical
All right, Jesus Christ, you know, I can't handle any more of this, but you know,
you can't handle any more of that.
Well, I feel sorry for you. Like, you know, like you want to take your religion seriously, and then you got these guys pulling conspiracy theories out of their ass, you know. So, yeah. And finally, and I haven't found anything on this one, but it was very briefly mentioned in the first clip I saw, is that people were claiming how the solar eclipse was going to be a way for illegal immigrants to cross the border. You know, it will get dark at that period of time. And obviously the journalist was smartly counter saying, well, what about nighttime? It does get dark for hours. I mean, they are just, and I wish I say some of these earlier because I came across this during the course of the week. But some of the stuff I saw in the past as well were like people thinking that this was the eclipse was created by the government, like they can control the sun and the moon. You know, they could, you know, like you could predict, but you can't control. There's a difference, you know. So they believe that the government did all of this sort of stuff, you know, to bamboozle people or whatever. Like there's so much crap out there. A lot of this is by flat earthers as well, and stuff like that. This is, like I said, this is a phenomenon that's happened before. And people expect it, they appreciate it, they see it, it's done. But this time around, because of the age and the world we're living in of misinformation, boy, has it gone overboard this time around. It's ridiculous. And that, my friends, is...
thanks, Sam, for doing that.
You're welcome.
I just wish people had better critical thinking. In 2 videos you showed, they were amazed that this was going to happen over several towns with the same name that were biblically connected. And my first thought was, well, of course, because the United States is largely Christian, so a lot of their towns would have that name and other Christian names. And I bet if we did a survey, there would be plenty of other places in the United States with the same town name that the solar eclipse didn't even touch or come near. Why is that a factor? Gaz, finally, I know you're not like these people.
I'm just in shock. So just like, you know, I mean, the thing is
Gaz is worse.
By the way, I love you, big boy. Just to say, don't take that wrong. But yeah, the stupidity is just off the flame chain. I mean, the thing is, as you were just saying, you could there's literally like calendars you can literally like go to, like observatories or like George World Bank. I don't know. I think there's like ones in America where you have even the Vatican flaming. What's the word? Details this stuff because the Vatican has probably one of the best observatory things scopes in the entire world, which is called Lucifer. Which they even on their website detailed this was going to happen, and they didn't mention the rapture at all. Well, they don't believe in the rapture, but they never mentioned like the end of the world or anything like that. They just said, "Is it all the same?" It happens all the time, and that's what the people who work for the Vatican Flaming Observatory said.
You know, personally, I want the rapture to happen because all these dickheads will be gone. You know, the rapture will be the best thing that ever happened to me, mate. You know, it'll be like Thanos snap.
Zam, like I said before the show, think of all the free shit we'd get once they're gone.
Yeah.
Their cars would be left behind, their houses, their clothing, maybe a diamond ring, whatever. It'd be ours.
Yeah, exactly. You know, homelessness will end. You know, because there'll be so many homes for people to obtain. You know, so yeah, not all the bad billionaires who happen to be Christian as well, or who are
most of the billionaires are atheists because
are religious fanatics. No, I wouldn't say that.
Like Warren Buffett and sorry, like assholes like that. Sorry.
Yeah, but you got all the people in the States who were in Trump's cabinet, like people like Betsy DeVos, who wanted to change the curriculum in schools because of her religious beliefs. And she's a billionaire. Yeah, I mean, but regardless, I only have one of these, by the way, today. I do apologize. Only one.
They took our gift.
Sorry, you about
If
to
I
say?
had the money, I would have bought helium tanks and blow up dolls because that would have been hilarious to let them loose. And that's all.
Well, actually, I saw that one clip where this one woman thought the rapture was happening because somewhere else on the street, part of the street was obscured to her. She didn't realize, but this guy had like inflatable blow-up dolls in the back of his van, and he had a car crash, and all the dolls started flying up into the sky. And this woman who believed in the rapture thought the rapture was happening, and she was waiting for herself to be taken in the sky because she thought she saw all these people being taken into the sky by God, and she was waiting for her turn. Anyway, as I said earlier, I only got one of these.
They took our jibs.
They took your job. They took your job. They took your job.
Right. I came across this on TikTok, and it was absolutely brilliant. Now, we all know that if a political candidate, like whether it be Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders, whoever it may be, if we found out that they did something that was beyond forgivable, and I'm not saying that these people are saints. I'm sure they've done stuff that we disagree with, no doubt, but done stuff that is not forgivable, like Bill Clinton, for instance, his ties with Epstein and stuff like that. Somebody I didn't mind as a president earlier, but now I disdain him. And if he went to jail, I have no problem with it whatsoever. Him and Hillary, no problem with it whatsoever. I have no affiliation with them. I don't give a fuck about them. But it's a little bit different with Donald Trump. And these stories on Donald Trump are fake, but these Trump supporters believe it's real, and these are the reactions to that.
I'm watching.
And stuff and introducing yourself.
Sorry?
I'm watching.
She's got off.
Okay. Okay, we go.
The Donald Trump Focus Group. I appreciate you sharing that stuff and introducing yourselves. I'm going to jump right into it. We're gonna roll. Start out. I want to share some of the audio, and this is audio of Trump saying some things, and we need your candid thoughts on what to do. Right? This is not out at this point, but we need to have a plan in place on how to react and respond to this stuff if it ends up in the media. So.
Look, I need cameras in the dressing room. Cameras on the wall, cameras on the floor, aimed up at their whatevers. I want the best cameras set up by the best Chinamen. Understand?
Yeah, well, that could be a violation of...
It's to make sure that they're safe.
Safe?
I mean, look, I can't be there all day. I'll just start grabbing them. Believe me, for them, not me. I'm a man. They're beautiful women. It's totally natural. Sometimes I'll walk in naked. So then we're all naked. If they file a complaint against me, I can file it right back at them. The Jew lawyer told me that one.
We need to have a plan in place on how to react and respond to this stuff if it ends up in the media.
Well, this is obviously old. It's before he decided he was going to be a politician. I personally don't care. I just don't care.
See, I like him because he says all. I like him because he says all that. We love it when he says what everybody thinks and won't say. And with that personality goes those kind of comments most of the time.
Very
As a
Christian
man,
of him.
I know I've been in situations, we've been in locker rooms, we've been, it's man talk. I've done it, said it, they've done it, said it. I've been around plenty of men, professional, I mean, you name it, every man has said something to the effects that,
that they'd like to put the camera in a teenage girl's changing room.
Okay, before we go into the next section of the same clip.
So sad.
These guys are defending Donald Trump, and women as well are defending that. Once again, just to make sure people understand that this is all AI created. This is not real. Donald Trump has not said these things. But just to understand, make people understand what it means to be a Trump supporter, these people believe that this is real. And it goes to show that they will defend a man who wants to put cameras into teenage girls' dressing rooms and how he's happy to walk in there naked, grab them, whatever. Chinaman, Jew lawyer, all of these other things as well.
Zam,
yeah.
It's disgusting that he's a racist and says all those things. And I bet in his heart he actually means them, even though this is AI generated. But what disgusts me more is the fact that people, like you said, defended the possibility in their minds that this was true, that he was committing pedophilia. And not only that, that women sat in that room, and I'm sure fathers sat in that room, brothers sat in that room and defended that man. It's disgusting. I'm still watching and listening. I'm turning my mic off.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay, so the clip continues, and here we go.
Move on to the next one.
We'll be back with lots more of Donald Trump. Don't go away. Okay, so am I doing all right, Larry? Because I'm a little woozy. I just get back from giving blood for this paternity test.
So what do they have to say?
It's for Ivanka. I'm double checking that she's really my daughter. I don't want to go my whole life and find out that she was fair game after all, It's just that she's voluptuous, successful, and, frankly, I heard she's great in bed.
And we're back in 5,
Okay.
4.
Does oral count as incest?
We're back with Donald Trump all over the board tonight.
Okay, so how do you feel about this one?
He's complimenting his daughter, like in his head.
Yes, it's crass because that is his own daughter.
This is bad. Can you turn it off?
He's still a human male. As a male, I do say some things that are crude.
Okay,
absolutely.
The Donald Trump Focus Group.
All right. Okay. Look, let's not forget that Donald Trump has said on other shows that what him and his daughter have in common is sex. And if it wasn't his daughter, he would be dating her. He has said these things, okay? So regardless, this fake clip was terrible. You know, saying that, you know, Ivanka was fair game after all and stuff like that. The jokes are always going to be on that because the way he is. Ivanka Trump, before anyone starts any conspiracy theories, Ivanka Trump has a lot of Donald Trump's looks in her. You know, she's definitely his daughter. You know, but and she sounds a little bit like him at times as well, and her speech patterns and stuff like that. She's got a lot of his characteristics. But the way he fawns over her, it's and the fake clip they made to emphasize that, and it's not like these Donald Trump supporters don't realize this. They know this, but once again, it's all fucking good. It's all good.
Okay.
You can do stuff like that. Yeah.
First,
Go on,
get
Ginge.
rid of that screen.
We'll do. Where is it? There we go.
Secondly, I massively disagree with what they did there. Okay, because if the shoe was on the other foot, there'd be outrage. All right. They used Donald Trump's voice in an AI setting to basically exploit the ignorance and stupidity and hypocrisy of Trump supporters. And that should be a huge ethical red flag right there. Because, yes, these people are dumb and they're hypocrites, but for fuck's sake, they're vulnerable idiots. And you're just exploiting that for the purposes of entertainment. And by using a fake AI generated voice. I mean, that's fucked up. I'm sorry, but that's fucked up. Normally you can laugh at these sort of things, but when we're going down that road, it's a slippery slope. And I personally, I don't agree with that. What they did there, I think it frustrates me because this is just low hanging crap, exposing how hypocritical and stupid people are, when what you should be doing is exposing how fucking dangerous these people are. And, you know, holding truth to power, going after, this is the equivalent of right wingers going to colleges and debating with people that don't know shit about life just so that they can own the libs. So that's a shit clip. I really fucking, you know, that's terrible. That's really fucking terrible, guys.
So you think this is like the left wing version of what Stephen Crowder used to do?
Yeah, this is like, you know, this is again just exploiting idiots for your own entertainment. But by using an AI voice, by generating fake, it's different if you're going out as a reporter into the crowds to kind of showcase how they are. But tricking people like this is just, it's not on. I mean, I know they would have told them afterwards that this is all AI generated, but it just smacks of hypocrisy, in my opinion.
I
respectfully disagree.
I disagree
to a point. I think that, first of all, you're right when you say we should be going after the true enemy and doing the right thing and exposing the other people that are actually in charge and know better. I'll agree with you when I say that they're low-hanging fruit, but I do think it can be used in the best way possible. This can be considered an exercise in exposing just how brainwashed some people can be, no matter what is said by their idol. And I might be able to use something like this to convince someone in my own family that's a QAnon supporter just how ridiculous he is. But that is only the modicum of goodness I could get out of it. Other than that, I do agree with you. That's why I say I only partially disagree with you. But there might be something good I could get out of this, but it would be small.
It's purely entertainment. That's all it is. And the thing is, like I said, you could do that with just taking a reporter and going to these rallies. But to use the AI generated voice stuff, it doesn't help anyone's argument at all. It just shows that, hey, look, you know, look what they could do. They could generate a guy to sound like this, and God knows what else. You know, you're dealing with conspiracy theorists here, and they could see this whole thing in a completely different manner. You know, and if you want to see, if we show you what the equivalent of what the right did, let's not forget, you know, Project Veritas and what they did with Planned Parenthood and the dangers that happened with that. Okay, and there was outrage on us. I said, look, they faked the footage, they made all this crap up, and then we're going along and doing this kind of shit.
No, the guy dressed
It
up as a
doesn't help
pimp.
the argument.
The guy who dressed up as a
We're
pimp
not
and stuff like
admitting
that.
that this is true.
Hang
We're not
on,
saying-
Christine. Hang on, Christine. Damn.
You talk about the guy who dressed up as a pimp and
What?
all of that. When the Planned Parenthood thing, he would go in there dressed up as a pimp and
No. There was a proper fake investigative journalism on Planned Parenthood where they took certain clips out of context and they completely lied about what was going on in Planned Parenthood, about how they're selling on the dead fetuses of children and all this kind of shit. And that caused a violent backlash against people that worked in Planned Parenthood. Not some stupid little skit about a fucking pimp. I'm talking a proper dangerous expose. That wasn't even an expose. It was just Project Veritas. Dude.
And if somebody who's on the left side, if that fooled me, I would be on the right side of the issue regarding that, because I wouldn't like that from happening from Planned Parenthood at all. If I personally got fooled by it myself, but what this is exposing, this clip here with the Trump supporters, is something that we personally have already known, but maybe
we've known it.
We know this already, but I think sometimes the broader general public need to know more about how fucked up these people are regarding the fact that they are willing to support a man who, they're willing to condemn people like Joe Biden for various things, and they're willing to condemn the left for various things. But here's a man who wants to fuck his own daughter. Here's a man who wants to walk into Kitty's changing room, regardless of the fact that he's already got genuine Epstein connections and all of that, which they want to totally ignore. And they want to twist the narratives. They stand for absolutely nothing, these Trump supporters. And the more exposure we get of them standing for nothing, the better it is. Because if this shit was on Joe Biden or anything like that, I'll drop him like a hot potato, dude. And I'll find somebody else to support or wouldn't vote or whatever, if that was the particular case.
Yeah, I get that. But what I'm saying is the using the AI part, that's the slippery slope for me. Because, like I said, you can send a reporter into the rallies to expose them. They've done it, and they've done it very successfully. Name a show, they've done it.
No, but humor in politics has been happening a long time. Recently, we've been watching The Good Lies do it on TikTok. Prior to that, Jon Stewart's been doing it on The Daily Show. Obviously, this is a little bit different. This is taking a different direction, but it's still exposing the hypocrisy of these people, regardless of it being AI or not. I don't give a shit about that. I'm exposing the hypocrisy of these people. That's what matters the most.
It's a dangerous line when you're using AI to generate.
Well, I guarantee you, if you did this with people on the left, and this is the case with a lot of people on the left, because people like someone like Joe Biden is not doing really well in the polls as to be president of the United States for a second term, because he's letting his side down consistently. Some people might only vote for him because Donald Trump is the alternative. That's the only reason he might get any votes whatsoever, not because of him being a good politician. So you can expose people on the left for being dickheads, and people on the left will happily not vote for this motherfucker if that's the case. And fortunately for Joe, the only thing he's got is that he's not Donald Trump. That's it. You know what I mean? So I think this is totally fine personally. If they did this with somebody on the left,
it's a slippery slope, but okay, that's cool. That's fine. That's fine.
Go on, Chris. Sorry,
Thank you. Whether it's AI or editing, the difference between this and something like Veritas is they still claim to this day that Veritas is real. This will not be claimed as real. Those people were, I bet, $99 or I bet $1 million that they were told at the end that this was fake. I don't know if it was advertised when it was released that it was fake. Did they say anything about it being AI on the video? Zan?
All I got was that clip. I'm afraid.
I'm sure they would have had to have told them afterwards.
You guys talk a lot. I try and interject quickly and get to my point. Please just let me do that.
Yeah.
I love that there are journalists and comedians that go to Trump rallies and ask the hard questions. But those questions and those videos have been asked of my father. He completely ignores them. He doesn't get it through his thick skull. He was not like this before. He was a good, kind person that liked everyone, regardless of their background. Something like this might, because I know, even though he seems to worship Trump and people like him, and not, there's nothing in his eyes that can, that he's seen anyway, that could stop him from loving him. I still hope, because I know he's not for pedophiles, that if he saw something like this, it might be the one thing that could tip him over the edge and wake him up and open his eyes up. And again, if it's editing or AI, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing to me. Thank you for listening.
That's right. Judging by those people's reaction, I very much doubt it. Because again, they'll just do a bunch of mental gymnastics to still justify what their beloved leader does. And that's the point. So, and these people are crazy. So if you go down the AI route, this will make them even more unhinged, because they're like, look at the deep state faking the Donald and all this, and they'll do the mental gymnastics to play the victim. And that's the issue I have. I've got no issue with reporters going into the field. And
I don't know when that clip came out. But Donald Trump has been claiming every time we see Donald Trump, say the wrong word, or he has a mental block, and he's saying stupid things, and he's slurring, or he's saying Nikki Haley instead of Nancy Pelosi and stuff like that. He just says all of that is AI. He says all of that is AI, and AI did that. I mean, he's blatantly lying now, and like I said, his supporters don't give a shit. They genuinely don't. It's crazy. I mean, they know he's not religious, not remotely. You have to be a fool to believe that this guy's religious. He's a fucking atheist. You know what I mean? But yeah, they genuinely believe that he's a religious man. You saw that clip of him when he came to the Bible verses, and how I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's personal. It's personal. I don't want to. He's just trying to brush it off, because the true thing is that if he was asked the Bible verse, he wouldn't bloody know any.
Ooh. My friends. Hey everyone, this is my uncle.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Uncle.
Two of them? Yeah.
No, there's three.
Okay.
Three of them.
Sorry.
Who invented stairs? Fucking hell.
So yeah.
I just had a big bowl of pasta and meatballs.
Oh, lovely.
Well, I went to bed at I had a nap at 4, and I got up at 8:30 because my guts were killing me, and then I jumped onto the show, so I hadn't eaten.
I just had a couple of Kit Kats, caramel flavor.
When I was outside feeding my pet chipmunk, I fell down and hurt my back.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Relatively speaking, your day's not that bad. Neither is mine.
My day's been great. I shit my lungs out, and I gathered a bunch of wood that the council can take away. Had a nice nap. But the only bad part.
Denivars have been commenting. We need to get to some of it. I do apologize, Daniel. Do you know how many people named Muhammad the eclipse passed over? It's a sign, yeah. Do you know how many people named Allah the eclipse passed over? It's a sign. I don't find the use of AI in this issue any different from media outlets like OA and Spin. Yeah, I agree, mate.
Yeah, but we're lowering ourselves to that level.
I just looked at it as a social experiment to prove a point.
Yeah, that's fine.
That we are more than aware of, and maybe some people still need convincing. All those people clearly signed releases. Yeah, I'm sure. So
yeah, for sure. They have to sign releases, which cracks me up even more because they're like, yeah, I don't mind being exposed as a dumbass. So, but yeah.
I got a couple more clips. Maybe going back onto TikTok.
Okay.
Some stuff to do with our prime minister, who I've hated. Sorry, go on.
Just before you find those, really quickly, what would have made this better for me is if after they did the actual thing, they could have had a psychologist say, he was talking about pedophilia. Do do you recognize that? That might have been better.
I completely agree.
I don't think they give a shit once again, because
they would have, but at
because
least having a professional like that just trying to drop it into them would have exposed exactly how lost they are, and it would have softened the blow a bit. But anyway,
now I've hated our last several prime ministers. I don't think I've hated a prime minister more than I hate Rishi Sunak. He is the weasel. If Vivek Ramaswamy ever became prime minister of the UK, he would be Rishi Sunak, in my opinion. This is a quick clip here in the House of Commons.
The Cabinet Minister for Equalities told this House that she had engaged, and I quote, extensively with LGBT organisations since her appointment 18 months ago. A Freedom of Information answer published this week reveals that, in fact, the minister hasn't met a single LGBT organisation, but has met 2 fringe groups that actively campaign against transgender rights. What is the problem the Prime Minister and a section of his party have with trans people, and his Equalities Minister has with the truth?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I've always said, first of all, this government has a proud track record of supporting those in the LGBT community, and will
Look at those
continue
comments.
to do so. And
Yeah.
we've also said that those who are questioning their gender and identity should be treated with the utmost dignity and compassion.
He's such
and
a fucking
sensitivity
liar.
as they
I
consider
hate
those
him.
In December,
I
the
hate him
Cabinet
so
Minister for
much. You saw those little things pop up. I'll get to this next bit in a second. I'll get to that one in a second. I'll remove that for now. But just going on that, like, this is our Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. I can't say anything other than I fucking hate this man with every fiber of my being. I hate him so fucking much. It's unreal. And he wasn't even democratically voted in to be our Prime Minister. And there he is, this fucking philanthropist. I can never say the word properly. This billionaire, who's running our country, who doesn't give a shit about working class people, involved in the party that doesn't give a shit about working class people, like the Tories, who are supported by a lot of working class people because some of them, unfortunately, are racist dickheads. And that's the only reason why they support the fucking Tories, because they are full of racist fucking dickheads who are probably stuck in a rut right now because the one thing they couldn't imagine happening is a brown person running the fucking party. But regardless, he's an agent of white supremacy anyway. Him, Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, they probably bleach their skin every other Sunday so they can fucking finally look like the people that they praise, because they want to be part of that society of people who demonize everybody else. They just happen to be brown, and that's a problem for them. But regardless, they love being like the people who probably hate them. So yeah, hello there, person whose name I can't pronounce, Aaron.
Hello.
Sneak. Well done.
He knows he's wrong. That's why he lied about meeting those groups.
Him or Trump? Oh my God, that's a tough one. It's tougher than you realize.
I'll take Sunak over Trump. It's not,
Yeah,
it's not fucking-
I guess. Yeah.
Gaz, you had your hand up.
Yeah. After we've done these clips, we can talk about the CAS report because there's stuff to talk about with that. But yeah,
The what report?
The CAS report, the CAS review.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We'll talk about that after you show the clips.
Okay, so I've got another clip, and this kind of shows you. You want to keep talking about this, or you want me to show you the next clip?
No, show the clips first, because then
Show the clip, mate. Show the clip.
Okay, this kind of gives you an idea of like past the buck, Rishi Sunak. This fucking cunt, I hate him so much.
Was that she has been unwell. She's out of work and on benefits because she's waiting for a psychotherapist and she can't get one. That will be a story that resonates with many people, I'm sure. And you can imagine how a politician might react to that, often with empathy, with solidarity, trying to ask more about her circumstances. This is how, as part of that conversation, the Prime Minister reacted to it.
Which
Louise?
NHS trust is this, Louise?
I can't say it's in Welsh, but it's
Right.
Contact.
Well, actually, you can't say it in. It's Welsh.
I think that's an interesting point, actually, Louise, because it's the Labour Party who run the NHS in Wales, as you know, because devolved government in Wales, and I think actually there's a very clear contrast to what's happening between England and Wales. Like across the UK, all
NHSs have experienced backlogs from COVID.
It's the aha, isn't it? That kind of gives it away, where he says the quiet part out loud, which is
I have a get out of jail card.
Clearly going through, her voice tells us that she's finding this quite difficult and quite hard to talk about, and presumably has suffered quite a lot of trauma in sort of trying to explain what her circumstances are,
and presumably has rung up out of some desperation.
Well, because she doesn't think which authority I'm talking to. She thinks she's talking to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, which she is. And that moment that you can hear Rishi Sunak almost find the arm's length distance between her problem and his problem, which is that the Rhondda Valley is Labour run because Labour's, in government in Wales, and you can hear Rishi almost kind of go, "It's a gotcha, right? Oh, don't worry, we're gonna be okay."
This proves my point.
This proves my point, which is not really why she's calling.
No, and you can imagine a more skillful politician, in fact, a lot of politicians, maybe not even that skillful, essentially wanting to find out, look, Louise, tell me about your circumstances. Exactly where are you? What's your history been with this? I'll talk to my team. We'll do what we can.
I mean, you still could advise Louise who to go to, even if it's something that you do not govern yourself.
Well, and then maybe in parenthesis, and this is where the politics come in, you just sort of happen to mention, almost in passing, that Labour-run Wales has worse outcomes and all of these things, and we're concerned about it, and we're pressuring them to do something about it. But of course, that's no concern to you.
Yeah,
you're just worried. Your problem is about getting this help for you, which is my concern as well, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that happens, etc., etc.
All right,
that was a great clip, Zam.
Thank you. I try my best to keep the show going, as I do, even though it's your show. But regardless,
it's our show. It's
my channel. But regardless,
yeah.
What upset me about that clip was the lack of empathy shown by Rishi Sunak, because he just wanted to pass the buck.
He's a sociopath, mate.
Yeah, without a doubt, dude. I mean, he doesn't give a shit about this woman's problems. All he wants to do is blame Labour for her problems. I mean, she's speaking to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He needs to be very sympathetic towards her, but this is a guy who's sympathetic to nobody unless you've got some money in your pocket. You know what I mean? Unless you're a bigot of some kind. Those are the people he is sympathetic to. He doesn't give a shit about this woman's problems whatsoever, who's crying out to our leader of this country to help her. And he doesn't give a flying shit in any capacity. He might not have to necessarily help her there and then, but he could talk to her like a fucking human being instead of saying, it's all Labour's fault. It's all Labour's fault. Like, come on, Rishi Sunak.
Take some accountability, you asshole. You're literally in charge of the fucking country. You're telling me that you don't have any sort of leeway into that thing? I'm sorry, I find it very difficult to believe.
The boats, man. But what about the boats? We've got to worry about those boats.
As soon as he said, aha. As soon as he said, aha. It was horrible.
Yeah. It was like, that's my get out of jail free card. Because I could just pass the buck and blame somebody else. It's like, well, who's in charge of their budgets? Who gives them their money? Who willfully, withholds funds from Labour-run councils and Labour-run governments? It's the fucking Tory party. And this is why the Scottish people want independence. Because we're sick and tired of being held at ransom by these fuckwits who don't know anything about our country. And yeah, it is. It's just endemic. Like, we're just run by complete sociopaths, just clueless. I mean, the one thing that Rishi Sunak's done brilliantly since being Prime Minister is enrich his wife's company. Infosys have become one of the richest and most wealthiest companies in the time space. It is enriched their company massively, handing them out. Like, he's the most corrupt, and he's been there just over a year, and he's the most corrupt Prime Minister we've ever had. All he's done is just enrich Infosys. He's
a smiler. He's a fucking smiler.
Yeah,
and I hate smilers. I hate him. All right, go on, Chris.
Oh, I was just doing that. Yeah, I know you got it thing, but I'm just gonna say, there's those people that smile constantly, like and then when someone smiles like at a joke or they're just happy occasionally, like that's cool, but you're right. When someone's a constant teeth smiler, watch out, buddy. They're
Betsy
trying to
DeVos was
mimic
like that.
human behavior because they're psychopaths.
Yeah, Betsy DeVos was like that. She was a smiler under the Trump administration. Awful human being. Joel Osteen, the pastor in America, smiled all the time. Until like bad publicity came his way, he wasn't going to let anybody stay in his super church. When a lot of people lost their homes during a natural disaster, he's like despicable people. I hate him. I hate him so.
I always used to like that. You'd get these like fucking moronic men who'd be like, I never get why you always see these girls with that resting bit face or that frown, and you're like, why don't you smile? It's like, well, hang on a second, mate. Do you sit there on a fucking bus like this? Nobody the default for everyone is not to smile, and yet you sit there and you ask, and I'm like, by the way, have you ever been with a woman that smiles all the time? They're completely fucking psychotic. Just like any man that smiles all the time, they're completely psychotic. It's an affront to hide that you're a fucking psycho. Was a person whose face is always, because my face looks like it could kill 1,000 stars when I walk around, because it's always like, in its normal position. The difference is I'm not the one who's going to turn around and fucking murder you. I'm sitting there going, oh.
Jing, it's more of a front when you're around people. Like I used to work for a company called Tahitian Noni, and it was run by Mormons, and my boss, I won't mention his name, he was a Mormon, and I had two Mormon bosses. He was the American one. I had one who was a Swedish woman who was actually a lot better. But my American Mormon boss, he was also a cool guy too, but I always felt there was something sinister behind him because he smiled all the fucking time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Typical, stereotypical Mormon. Like, he was Ned Flanders, howdy ho, neighbor, and all this sort of shit. And I'm thinking, I just don't trust you, dude. I don't trust you whatsoever. And, like, there's something wrong. I try to get along with him and, get all of that as you do. But I just felt there was just something sinister about him because he smiled all the fucking time. And there's always something sinister about Mormons, for fuck's sake, with their fucking child brides and fucking polygamy and shit like that, And I have nothing against polygamy if it's consensual and it's genuinely consensual, and it's not with fucking kids either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Other than that, I'm totally fine with it. But the Mormons are not necessarily like that. I've seen some of the documentaries, man. They're fucked up. They really are. They're fucked up. Yeah. So yeah.
I love your point on consensual because they're groomed from an early age to think that it's consensual, and it's not.
That's why I think kids as well. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And I'm just saying when they become adults later and they're going into it, because it happens to kids too, and that's wrong. But even when they're adults and they go, oh yeah, I want to be one of 4, 2, 3 brides or whatever. It's still, I always question that because
it's a very marriage like, isn't it? Yeah,
they were brought up that was the way to be. You have no choice. That if you thought differently, there's something wrong with you. You're going to hell. If people want to be in
polyamorous
relationships,
polygamy,
that's your choice. I would never stop you. It's not my choice. I couldn't handle it, but as long as it's an informed, free decision, do it, man.
I was in a polyamorous relationship in my 20s, and that it was all right.
Really?
It was fine. It was free. It was just like, hey, you're in the area, let's hang out, let's do stuff together, and then when we're not together, go off, do your kind of thing. I'm like, I'm very. That's what I mean. I'm very.
I had fuck buddies.
Libertarianism, I'm like super
like
chilled. I just don't care. Like, I've got no issues with incest as long as you don't breed. You know what I mean? Like on the breeding front of it, that shouldn't be allowed. But if you want to fuck your sister or your cousin, I don't give a shit if you want to do that. That's as long as you're consenting adults. That's fine. Polygamy, again, as long as it's not tied to like some sinister religious thing, then I'm fine with it. And if everyone's like consenting to it, you shouldn't be told that, oh, you can only marry one person because the rest of it, because tax exploitation or that. Well, that's the system you created. You could just say, You marry somebody from this point, then no tax
I
breaks,
agree, but
whatever.
I still find it icky. I can't. I'm really sorry, guys. Don't hold it against me. But the idea of some person, a brother and sister, fucking, you know, I agree.
is
If it's
icky.
consent, but it's
Yeah.
icky as fuck. It's icky
But-
as fuck.
It's not our place to say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Only when breeding, like no fucking under no circumstances you're allowed to have children. But if you want to bang your sister,
Well, you
yeah,
saw
well,
you
you
saw
know.
these dickheads on Twitch or Twitter or whatever the fuck, on TikTok. I mean, so I apologize. They were called the Island Twins.
Oh yeah.
And there were a couple of twin boys, and they were trying to get clout and get recognized, and so they started making out with each other on
But they tried to reclaim their clout after it faded away.
I think
from
one.
that
I think
shit
one of
rap.
them. I think one of them might have sucked the other one's dick or something like that as well. Like
Something like that, yeah.
And like you know, my eyebrows raised like fucking like Mr. Spock and the Rock. You know what I mean? He's like over here, like what? It's like I am like, gee, what people will do to get recognition is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I mean that's not love. That's just fucked up. That's just like clout for the sake of it. Yeah, Gaz, you want to talk about the cash report? Unless you've got anything else, Sam or Christine, before we move on.
I think I'm done.
All right.
So, so this is a report that the NHS England had retired. I think she was like some pediatrician, I think. Do into trans healthcare in England, basically, and what into basically surrounding youth. So what she decided was that a lot of the peer-reviewed evidence that people use for puberty blockers, for the benefits it does for youth, wasn't legitimate because it's not double-blinded. So what double-blinded means basically is that they compensate for the placebo effect. So there's one group who's been given it, and there's one group who haven't given it. But the problem is the ethics there.
No, you're not saying the whole thing with double blind. Even the researchers don't know who's getting the placebo and who's getting the active meds. The patients don't know either. Everyone's assigned a number, and no one knows.
Okay.
Till the end.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is with puberty blockers, you can't really do that because when somebody starts going through the puberty that they don't want to go through, they're kind of going to notice. So that kind of takes the results because they're going to notice if they've been given the placebo. So, like, because I mean, it's not like something else where like they're going. Now, what she's basically said, I'll do the positives first. So she's basically said they should take times with gender-friendly care and therapy and stuff like that, and apply people onto medication, onto your puberty blockers and your cross-sex hormones. But other things she said kind of a little bit troubling. Like, for example, she said that people shouldn't really start transitioning until they're 25. She said that people tend to become trans because their friends are trans, and because of porn. That they need to look into whether porn causes you to be trans. So if you're watching porn online, that has a negative mental effect and causes you to be trans. This is something that's in the report as well.
Oh God.
Yeah. What else has she said? She said that that they need to start looking into the whether social media makes you is a factor as well. It also needs to. What else did she say? She said that that the holistic approach needs to enjoy more therapy, and that people shouldn't be told that they're trans at a young level, even though that doesn't happen. And basically, a lot of the UK TERFs in this country have seen this, but this 300-page document as a win, but it shows me they haven't actually fucking read it, because I've actually read it. And some of the stuff, while troubling, some of the stuff I do agree with, but again, it's not just one of those all shit, all good. There's some shit and there's some good that we have to try and pass out of it.
So my issue with the Cass report is that it came from a position with a bias, okay? And this is why there is a lot of crap in there. And secondly, they published this report without it being peer reviewed. By the way, it's not a peer reviewed study, and yet and so this tells you everything you need to know about their intentions and motivations behind the Cass report. It was fuck all to do with protecting trans people at all. It was to do with trying to find anything and everything that helps confirm, their made up bullshit. That it confirms their kind of hatred and their conspiracies towards trans people. And you know it's bullshit because it's been pounced on by TERFs, exactly like you said, Gary, without having read the Cass report, and jumping on it and cherry picking certain elements to it. And Owen Jones and a couple of other people did a great job just picking it apart completely. And it's so fucking dangerous to publish something like this without it being peer reviewed, and not in saying that people
She didn't talk to any fucking trans people. That's the worst part of it. She didn't even talk to any trans people.
She'll say it again.
She did not talk to any trans people.
No, exactly. This is what I mean. This is you can tell where this is coming from. It is nothing to do about protecting trans people. It's a kind of to just further fuel the fans of hatred, because you're coming from it from a completely fucking TERF perspective. And this dangerous rhetoric should never be allowed. Like, there should be protected class here at this point, because of the absolute disgusting political weaponization of anti-trans thingy. I've lost my train of thought now because I'm fucking steaming, Christine.
These excuses that watching something or being taught something makes you something. I mean, I learned how the engine works on vehicles because I had to in the Army, and how to maintain them. I'm not a mechanic now, right? At one time, society blamed Catcher in the Rye or rock and roll for making teens bad. I mean, there's always going to be some boogeyman that is the cause for these things. It's not true. They're not the reason. And if they're worried about a double blind not being blind enough, they can have I'm making this word up, a triple blind. Just off the top of my head, if they don't want to be influenced by what they see visually, they can have yet another team that aren't told what they're looking into, but what vitals they're supposed to be taking and what they're supposed to be tracking without knowing why. So that's revealed at the end. So the first set of researchers aren't going to be influenced by what they can see visually, like the beta blockers, the blockers are doing, right? So there are ways. If this is her issue, that can be fixed, right? So there is no issue with the studies. The issue is anti-trans. That's the issue.
That's the issue. And the thing is, look, this country was plodding along nicely. It had issues in terms of trans health waiting lists to get treatment and to get their puberty blockers and all that. There's a huge waiting list. And then the fucking Americans, like with everything, created this issue because they needed their boogeyman, and they couldn't exactly go after LGBT communities because that's a politics killer for them. So that they exploited the trans issue, with bathrooms and sports and all this kind of shit. And now we've allowed. This is no different to when you life plods along, and then one arsehole with a chip on his shoulder manages to convince everyone to go murder a group of people just because he had an issue there. And we've completely fucked the trans community over because of some fucking American cunts, okay, who've watched too much trans porn and they feel guilty about it. And there needs to be a fucking... And now seeing Labour take the side of TERFs as well, there needs to be just outright violent hatred towards these kind of people to send a message to say, look, there's a fucking there has to be a limit You cannot keep believing these boogeymen. And I argued with my friends about this the other day. I'm like, because somebody posted, an anti-trans thing, and I'm like, it's funny how now you're on the anti-trans bandwagon. You never used to care, but now that you're being told to care, you care. And you know why I tell you that? Because two months ago, you were crying about the environment. Again, posted by the same people telling you to be scared about trans people. Before that, about the boats. I said, don't you have a fucking thought of your own? No, you don't. But you're spewing this dangerous rhetoric. And I said to you, if you do one more time, I'm going to punch you in the fucking face when I see you, because that's who you deserve. Because you are putting people's lives in danger. And I said, you're fucking Asian. How do you think your people were treated when you came over? Just 20 years ago, you people were the boogeyman. All right? Islam was the boogeyman.
Muslims, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Muslims, all of that. I said, and now you're doing the very thing that people did to you. I said, how fucking stupid are you? I said, thank God you're not breeding, because I feel sorry for any kids that you have, and you poison them with your stupidity, you fucking moron. Gaz.
You go first, Sam.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on, guys. I lost my train of thought.
I was just going to say, to it be, 16-year-olds are given transition stuff if it's an emergency. So it's not automatic. It's if it's an emergency and it's very acute, and that's been done by panels and doctors. It's up to the doctors. It's not up to you. Okay, that's first point. Secondly, the whole anti-trans thing is just repurposed transphobia, homophobia from the 1980s. That's what it is. Like for I was watching a TikTok today, right? Of no, it was on YouTube actually. I might send it to you later, Ginger. Right? Of this lady talking about stuff that people used to do in the 1980s. Like, for example, Margaret Thatcher said stuff about like, oh, we need to stop people telling people in schools that it's okay to be gay, and that people are making people gay in schools and stuff like that. I was like,
isn't that Section 8 or whatever it was called?
It's Section 28 or something like that. That's what she brought out, the Section 28. And actually, apparently, even though it's not very well documented, the amount of murders of gay people went up. I think there's like 56 gay people who were murdered in this country from 1985 to 1989. So
and suicide, and I bet suicides went up.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, it's like we're doing this again. It's like, look, nobody's teaching people to be trans, right? There's no, and this is the thing that this Dr. Kelly Casper, she's saying, oh, we need evidence based. All right, where's the evidence that shows that any sort of evidence, that any sort of social pressure makes people trans? Show it me. Prove it to me.
Listen, if they want to go with anecdotal, I could happily bring my friends on here, whose own son at the time knew from 2 fucking years old that they wanted to be a girl. From 2 years old, who did not want to. She did not want to wear boys' clothing. She did not want to cut her hair. Okay, from that young age, and parents. Thank God, she had these parents, because they're amazing. All right, they're like, oh, it's probably a phase. Let's see how it goes and all that. But she got to like the age of 8 and was like mental breakdowns because she hated the fact that she wasn't a girl, and this is from that fucking young age. So it's nothing to do with environment. It's nothing to do with that. It's all down to hormones and biology and all this kind of shit. All right. So they know from very early on what they want to be, and sometimes just that can change. Of course it can change, because we're not fucking biologists. We don't know how the body works. It could always change. Things change hormonally where they no longer feel that way. The problem is we're dealing with absolutists who fucking think it's just this way and this way only. Like, they don't understand nuances behind it. And the problem is these are the arseholes that are trying to influence a group of people they should have no say on. And that's where you draw the line. And things were plodding along nicely. The doctors were doing their thing. And now all of a sudden, everything's being viewed under a microscope to appease some fucking bigots. It's disgusting.
As soon as someone says to you, there's only XX and XY, I'm not a biologist. I'm not a doctor, but even I know that's not true. So why do these people think that they have a right to make these decisions for people they don't even know, first of all, but on topics they have no clue about, like you said?
Yeah, and on this comment here, Rick, you're always going to get the odd idiot or the odd person that's influenced by that, but it's not endemic. It's the same with like trans athletes. It's not. It doesn't speak to a whole community, and that person probably wanted to feel some kind of belonging, and they ruin themselves to explore that. We've seen that with people that do body modifications and all this kind of shit. But again, it's not telling of an entire. That's why I can't say that my friend's daughter is everything about the trans community. But I said, that's why I specifically said, anecdotally, I can give you an example, you know, but it's different. Well, Zam, you had your hand up, then I go to
yeah.
James.
I'm just saying, sometimes, you know, the reason why all this shit is happening is because the most simplest of reasons is just, as you said earlier, is the attraction of trans people by people who in their political camp need to hate on these people. And so there was a survey shown of regarding where the most trans porn is watched in red states. Not funnily enough, you know. So these guys are hating on them during the day and then jerking off to them at night. You know, they're probably hiring them and stuff like that. You know, it really boils down to that sort of simplicity, really, and it's no different to like homophobes, you know, who tend to be actually gay people themselves. You know, it's unfortunate that sometimes for the gay community, like the people who hate them the most are repressed homosexuals.
Oh, that's
yeah.
you, Chris.
Yeah, but overall, the answer to the solution is quite simple, really. That these people need to accept the fact that transgender people exist. You would honestly think that transgender people are fucking everywhere, the way these people go on. You know, you would think that some of them are so misinformed on the right. They believe that 25% of the population are transgendered. Trust me, I fucking wish. You know, the way I go through them on networking sites.
This week on Sam's dating history.
Yeah, well, I'm not ashamed to admit, you know, that I've plowed through many of them in the past. So money well spent. I don't want to ignore Cheeto, by the way, before I move on. You just quickly mentioned, and I want to stick with the subject, by the way. Did you guys talk about the season of Lower Decks?
Well, I'm going to go into film and TV next, Sam, so we could talk about that.
Yeah,
don't worry, I
fair
haven't
enough.
forgotten about him. So yeah,
Cheeto gets worried
as
that
soon
we
as
forget
this is
about
done, that's what we're going to go into for sure.
Okay.
So, Gads, you had something, and then Christine, and then we'll move on.
So there's been a few people saying that, oh well, so people are threatening to strike off people who have helped out with trans healthcare in the past. That is what people are threatening to do now because of this report. But also, they're threatening to close down Mermaids. Now, what Mermaids do is they're a UK charity that has a lot of resources for trans healthcare. So they provide people with chest binders. They provide people with like, I'm trying to find a word for it, like plastic fake penises. And it's not funny. This is literally what they do. And they also like find other ways to help people kind of like fit more into the gender that they want to fit into, basically. So basically, what these TERFs are now doing is that they're putting pressure on the government, or they're trying to put pressure on the government to close these charities down, based upon this report, and that's what I find scary. That these charities exist to help people, not because they want to push their ideology, but because they're there to help people. You goddamn idiots! Sorry.
Yeah, these bigots they're sick in the fucking head, and they're obsessed with. And this is why I say you need to put them in their place, because it's dangerous what they can do, and they're going to destroy people's lives just for the sake of feeding into their own hatred and being happy with that. It's not going to make it go away. It's never going to go away. You know, Christine.
Yeah, quickly. This is anecdotal too. I can't speak sometimes, but it's true. The ones that are so far in the closet are the ones that cause the most damage. And I'll give you an example. And I guess this is not statistics, or this is just anecdote. I have a speech impediment.
Yeah.
Thank you. But the star quarterback of my high school was the worst bully and picked on. We had this one guy who was a flamboyantly gay. Not all gays are flamboyant, but he most definitely was obvious. And he got the shit kicked out of him all the time. Well, guess who got his dick sucked by the quarterback?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine.
No surprise. Probably the same person who beat the shit out of him. Well, you know what? I can't stop beating on you any longer. You know, I need that dick in my mouth.
Yeah, always the fucking way, man. And that's why it's so dangerous.
Adultwork.com, Rick B. Adultwork.com, mate. You know what I mean? Trust me.
So I'm advertising his escort sites on Nerd today.
Yes. And by the way,
easy, mate.
Daniel Vaughn says, I'm doing a study on Zam's watching habits. I only watch shows Zam has reviewed on NerdTube to see how it affects me. And I'll tell you, I'm losing it. Good. Good. You have to understand, I got my treadmill all over there.
I've never paid for sex, but it's on my bucket list. Hey, if you never had to pay for it, mate.
Oh, I told them the story. I told you guys the story the other day. So, but I'm happy to tell you the story again if you want to hear it about basically, I saw this really hot chick on the Adult Work site, and I thought to myself, I need to shag you. You know, you're worth it. You're worth the extras as well. You know what I mean? The CIMs, the backdoor, all that stuff, extra pays. Fine, I'll pay it all. I want to bang you. And so I went to visit this person on Wednesday, and then the person opens up their door to me to their place, and I look at her and I think to myself, you're not that girl I just saw in the picture. Yeah, you're not her. And so I also spoke to this person on the phone, and she spoke English, but the girl I'm now speaking to, who I'm supposed to bang, she doesn't speak a word of fucking English. So I know that's definitely not her. And
could be trafficked.
Yeah.
It could be trafficked, but I thought to myself, this is not the. But for me, my mind is already thinking to myself, I just saw a goddamn hottie on this Adult Work site, and now I'm coming across you who looks like the B-Tech version of her. You know what I mean? I'm not having this. I'm not having this, and I walked out, and I was so pissed off.
The Tamu version.
I was so vexed, man. Like I just drove 5 miles for to come across somebody who's not
5 miles.
Yeah, it's a whopping 5, but it's annoying because I had to feed my dad at some point as well. That was always playing on my mind that my dad needs to be fed. So that's playing on my mind. But I thought to myself, I got an urge, need to deal with it. You know what I mean? There's only so many times you can use the palm of your hand until you realize, you know what? I need to get some ass, some real fucking ass. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping, and so
some sexual habits. Advertising.
Do they make you shower, Zam, or do you just get down to it?
I always shower before I go. But I don't want to shower at their place. So it's just how it is in my mind. I don't like to do showering at their place. I just want to shower. I make sure that before I go, I'm ready to go. Like work's done. I don't go straight after work or anything like that. I come home, I get changed. I wear something very, very flimsy and loose and casual, and I shower as well. And stuff like that. And so
he also shaves.
And I do that every couple of weeks anyway. You know what I mean? I do that before my cleaner comes. So if there's any pubes on the floor, she can clean it up herself. You know what I
mean? No shame. No shame.
It's only hair. It's only
hair. The only thing disturbing I heard there was that you left your pubes for your maid. Everything else was like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah. Some of it's gonna look. I try to. Unfortunately, my kitchen sink, my bathroom sink is just a little bit too high, but I try to tiptoe over it. So I'm getting all the shavings in the sink, and then I wipe it all up and stuff like that, and then I throw it out the window. I actually throw out the fucking window.
Fucking bin down the toilet.
I haven't got a bin in the bathroom. I've got a bin in the toilet, but I haven't got a bin in the bathroom for some reason. So
your toilet is separate to your bath.
Yeah, so at the same time, I don't want to wash it. Because when you if the hair's too long, you don't want to wash it down the plug hole, but they can get stuck. So I've learned. I just throw it out the fucking window. Maybe some birds could use it for a nest or something.
That's just the thought I didn't really want.
Oh, that is brilliant. It's like lies. It's like Zam's pubes.
It's kind of great.
So yeah, so but
About
regardless,
3 minutes, Rick.
do they make you oh, sorry, as I said earlier, how do you pay for? And I pay cash, you know. Like you can't do online booking. I mean, I think eventually, you know, like they'll have like credit card machines or whatever, but it's still, I pay cold
Use
hard
your
cash.
app just as a stripe. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm not shagging out there, man.
Out into
Yeah.
the streets, so it's in his DNA.
So
that's great. Okay, shall we move on to TV stuff? Sam, do you want to talk Lower Decks and things like that?
yeah, well, I found out myself as well today,
So
and
if you want to
it's a
come in
bit.
and join us,
It's
we're
a bit.
talking
It's a
TV
bit.
stuff now.
It's a bit sad because Star Trek Discovery is on its final season, and I'm having fun with this season so far. It's got like an Indiana Jones vibe because they're finding MacGuffins and going all over the universe to put this ultimate MacGuffin together. And there's booby traps and stuff like that, you know, as you get in Indiana Jones. So it's Indiana Jones in space, so to speak. And I'm having fun with it. Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I apologize. Oh, I apologize. Are you watching Discovery? Okay, fair enough. But it's on. So season 5 right now. I'm watching that, and it's the final season, which is unfortunate. And Lower Decks now it's on its final season, which that came out of nowhere. I don't think people were expecting that. Oh, you chipmunk! That's awesome.
Awesome.
So yeah, with Lower Decks now ending, that's going to be a bit sad. But the point is, like, we still want more Star Trek. So all these current shows are ending. Other shows need to replace it. You know, well, we're just looking forward to that happening, I guess.
Why are they ending Lower Decks? I thought it was really popular.
I don't know. No, but it's only going for like it's 5 seasons. It's 5 seasons, which is pretty good, I guess.
Yeah,
Fallout. Fallout. And you mentioned Fallout. I watched it. I have enjoyed it. I will
I've
do
not
a
started
review.
watching it yet.
You not started watching? Oh, I want to do a review of that. I need to do a review of that.
I'll probably try to start tomorrow after I've done wrestling.
I think I would put honestly. I think even though I'm not when I say I'm not a fan of the game, I just never played the games. I'm not a fan of Bethesda. But regardless, Walter Goggins is superb in terms of supporting cast.
Have you
The
never played
visuals.
New Vegas?
I've never played any of them because I'm not into.
Play New Vegas. It's fucking fantastic.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
You
But,
can watch shows that are based on videos all the time, and they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I never played The Witcher, and I thought The Witcher was shit. To tell you the truth, but
I only
regardless,
like the second one. I did not like the third one. I thought the third one was a huge step back.
I didn't watch the second or the third one
mechanics.
because the first one was shit for me.
Yeah, they're
But
not as
regardless-
great as people say they are. They're okay. They're
Yeah,
like
they're trying to be too
I-
smart. They're ain't good.
yeah. I judge a game on the gameplay mechanics rather than story and all that crap. And the gameplay mechanics were too. Can't stand games with basic gameplay mechanics. If your bog standard RPG game, Japanese RPG game, can show you characters jumping high and climbing walls and traversing beautifully and all this kind of shit, and then every other fucking European or American game, they can barely jump a foot off the ground or move, and they move like they're fucking rocks, then that loses it for me. And The Witcher was such a frustrating game, man. So yeah.
Well, with like we're just going on to Fallout, which I will do a review of eventually. But Fallout, I highly recommend it. It's a good show. Visually, it looks great as well. Great color palette too. Great, good characters, and the story itself. I mean, it's good. It's very good. Like I did find things because I'm not too familiar with the lore, but because I've not played the games. Some things might have gone over my head a little bit.
Which
But
fault did
that's-
they go out of?
I'm not going to mention any. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm just giving you my just personal opinions without giving you anything in the story or the episodes. But that's all I can say regarding that. House.
Yeah, I
Ninja,
think.
I watched. Sorry. Go on.
Go on, Zan. No, you carry on.
Ninjas. That's a Japanese drama. I just finished watching that. I've done a review on that. That's already on the tube. It's okay, but what I mentioned.
I didn't like it.
Well, I didn't like the first. Like in the first episode, you got these ninjas hacking and slashing, and then you got the song "Our house is a very, very, very fine house."
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, this song doesn't belong with this action scene. And the Japanese, when it comes to accompanying music or tones or whatever, with any of the shit they do, whether it be this, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy, whatever, they always get the music wrong. Always get the music wrong. You know what I mean?
They suck at music. They do.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a different. Look, Metal Gear Solid 5, one of the greatest games of all time, one of the greatest games. But there are moments in the cutscenes, I'm thinking to myself, what is this shit am I listening to? You know what I mean? This music.
The one time Mad World was used, I think it was in Fallout. That was perfect for me. I'm still listening.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, yeah, that's Fallout, but I'm just talking about Metal Gear. Yeah, but watch that and Shogun. I thought Shogun was only 8 episodes long. Fortunately, it's not. It's 10 episodes. So fortunately, I didn't have to do a review of Shogun anytime soon. Got 2 more weeks until I can do a review of that. Excellent show. Listen, and by the way, Shogun and things like maybe Ghost of Tsushima are Japanese stuff done right with a little bit of a Western influence in the filmmaking or the making of the project. You get it done just right. Stuff which is Japanese made without maybe somebody else with a to look over the project to make it more palatable for a worldwide audience. Sometimes stuff like House of Ninja comes out, which is good, but it might need a Western eye. And then you have that Western eye with something like Shogun, which is a proper Japanese production, but it has a Western eye on it as well, just to make it more palatable for a wider audience. And it is fucking superb. Same with something like Ghost of Tsushima. It's a game based in Japan. Obviously, there's a lot of Japanese influence, but it has that Western element to it to make it more palatable for a wider audience. And it's probably the best game about Japan, but not made by Japanese people, which is great. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well.
This is so stupid. Sorry.
Stop. This was just one fucking reporter that wrote a bullshit report about it. Nobody actually gives a fuck. And again, Twitter's not real life. Gaz.
I was going to say, so apparently the Minecraft movie is finished.
Minecraft?
I didn't even know that they're doing a fucking movie of it, to be honest with you.
I want to see them chop a tree down with their bare hands. That'd be stupid.
But also, I want to talk about X-Men 97 again, but I probably won't do that here, I suppose.
I think we can talk about X-Men 97. I mean, there's no point in making
before we do that, let's just go into some quick announcements as well. So let me bring this one up. So the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is a live-action R-rated Last Rolling adaptation. Great on principle, but it's Paramount Pictures, so people are getting hyped, and I'm like, need I remind you of Transformers and G.I. Joe and what they did with those franchises? Need I remind you of the last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film and animated film that was fucking boring, generic shit? So while this is good on principle, they're not going to pull it off. I don't need to read the article.
I think Paramount.
Sorry.
If you don't mind, Gary, I think Paramount might do a better job of adult entertainment than family entertainment. So if anything, I'm holding up hopes regarding that, because if it is R-rated, I think it might be better if it wasn't. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Gaz.
Yeah, the last two Teenage Mutant Ninja film were made by produced by Michael Bay before the Bay Turtles, they were awful, and that's because the people who made it got scared because people were moaning about the fact that William Fichtner was flaming Shredder, and they just went, "Oh, it's going to be this generic flaming Japanese dude." It's like, no, William Fichtner. He's at least a good actor, and like, yeah, he doesn't have to be the exact ethnicity that Flaming Shredder was in the Flaming comics. And do you know what? If they get a good director and they get a good script, then I think it could work, because The Last Ronin is just such a fucking good story that it's hard to fuck up.
But put it to Paramount, they probably fucking will. I mean, G.I. Joe was not exactly hard to get wrong, and they made it absolutely abysmal. Transformers, there's never been a good Transformers film, and there's been 7 of them, and they're all shit. And just that Steven Spielberg is tapped to producer, that tells you everything you need to know. Steven Spielberg was producer on the Michael Bay. Yeah, exactly. You know,
these guys are dinosaurs.
It's name only, so they can use it as marketing. But
it's Spielberg.
They shouldn't do it.
The Last Ronin, is it a movie or a series?
It's a movie.
It's going to be a film. Before that, it was a comic book series, and it's one of the best turtle stories ever written.
I sometimes look at certain projects and I think to myself, that needs to be a series. You know what I mean? And Last Ronin for me needs to be a series.
No. Last Ronin was only 5 issues. It wasn't a long run. It took forever to complete. Yeah, it was a short run. It was written by like Eastman. It was a miniseries, but it took fucking forever to write. So like you were waiting ages for every issue, especially the final 2. So it was only like a 5-issue or 6-issue run.
And it's one of the best turtle stories of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. But it can be done in a film. It doesn't need to be a series. A 2-hour film, you can tell the story perfectly well. And yeah, this is what I mean. Like an R-rated TMNT film depends on who's directing, who's writing them. But if you've got Spielberg attached as producer, it's just going to be like G.I. Joe levels of dumb shittery. But it really doesn't. What you need is not James Mangold, because he'll do the same old tired shtick, but someone like that who can give you like a Logan-esque type story. You know, that's what you need. Christine.
What about Josh Whedon?
No, fuck
No
Josh
way.
Whedon.
No
Absolute
way.
cancer. Fucking hate that guy. He can't write for shit, and he can't do serious. He's a fucking moron and a sexist piece of shit.
And he's a horrible human being.
Yeah. Fucking Joss Whedon. That guy should never be allowed anywhere near the industry ever again.
Have you
but
guys?
yeah, you know.
How about this?
Oh, sorry, go on, man.
No, I thought maybe we could do this one, The Secret of the Ooze. I posted it on 5G, got memes. You never saw this for some reason.
Huh? Did you? I didn't see it on 5G. Somebody sent that to me.
I said I put this on 5G.
Oh, you know what, Zam? Fucking, you know what? Like on my fanboy rage pay group, I have to set it to approval so I can get notifications. It doesn't even notify me when people are posting things that need approval anymore. I need to manually go. Like Facebook, I'm so close to just giving up on Facebook and just chucking it in. It's so broken. Like notifications don't work anymore. They've just given up on it.
The John Wick
director. Let's go.
John Paul Verhoeven should stick to sci-fi. Give it to the John Wick director. If it's a martial art film, give it to a martial art director. You know.
Yeah. I'd give it to what was it? Is it Gareth Evans, the guy that did the Raid films?
Yeah. I'm still waiting for Raid 3, by the way. If it ever happens, I'm hoping they do a Raid. They need to trilogy that movie, but he says he doesn't want to do it, Evans, which is a shame. But with Raid 1's a masterpiece. You know, and Raid 2 is pretty good as well. Got some good action scenes.
Yeah, he probably just doesn't want to because there's only so much you can do with it. Yeah, I get.
I hate when you make a decent sequel that you stick to that. Like you have to, you gotta go trilogy. For me, minimum is a trilogy, and I would love to see a third.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 I think is a nice number. Like it wraps itself up. You have the first one, it's got the introduction. The second one, you've got a big part of the story going on. The third one wraps it up. I like that idea of the 3 movies if they're done good.
So, yeah, some don't need it. Some need it, some don't. You can do things in a duology as well. But yeah, like Star Wars needed a trilogy. You couldn't have done it any other way. But in other ways, Martin Scorsese directed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. Fuck yeah. New York, Mafia, let's go. You know what I mean?
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, like the third movie, let alone the second movie, can be really shit. Like Blade Trinity is awful. It is so bad. I'm still hoping that they would make an Aeroplane 3, which they never did, which was a shame, really. At the same time, there are some terrible third movies of a trilogy. But that's how
people would say that Naked Gun 3 wasn't the best.
Oh, Naked Gun 3, or Naked 33 in the third.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's awful, man.
That was the beginning of the end for spoofs because they really had to dumb things down, and it just showed you how endemic of 90s cinema there was, just how things just started dumbing down beyond repair. Because, the first 2 Naked Gun films are perfect. Now, I like the third one, but it's such a huge dip in quality. It was just so stupid in so many ways.
Trans joke and stuff like that.
Blade 2 is great.
Yeah.
Rick B.
Huh?
Blade 2
is great.
Blade 2 is
Blade 2 is fantastic. I was in Prague when they were filming it as well, and I left a week before the whole place got flooded because Blade 2 got even the studio for Blade 2 got flooded, and they had to delay filming.
Yeah, Vampire's not being top of the food chain, and the problem with Blade 3 is that Blade wasn't the star of his own movie.
Oh, hold on. I was just gonna say controversial shit. First of all, I love all the Blade movies, but I really liked the third one.
Oh my goodness.
Kick
her out. Yeah, kick her out.
Rick B, that better not be true. Seth MacFarlane remaking the Naked Gun gets us.
Yeah, you know who's going to be in it, by the way, Gary? Guess. Liam Neeson.
Don't put them up if I can't read them, because you guys can see them, right? The chat.
I'm looking forward to the Seth MacFarlane Naked Gun film. There you go.
Okay.
Oh, Lord, no. How's Liam Neeson going to be in it? AI?
No, but I just... Like, Liam Neeson, are you mad? Like
Liam Neeson, not Leslie Nielsen. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Leslie Nielsen's dead.
Yeah, like Liam Neeson, the Irish actor.
Yeah,
like,
he could pull it off. He could pull off the comedy, but it's sacrilege. It shouldn't be made.
When has he ever done comedy?
Huh?
The guy, look, he's in his 70s now. He's got a filmography that goes back decades. Yeah. When has he ever done comedy? Like not a comical scene in a movie that is serious, an actual comedy.
He could pull it, because the thing with Liam Neeson, he's got that dry thing that Leslie Nielsen has. He can pull it off. It's a good casting, but the problem is, it's just shouldn't be made. It's sacrilege.
It's sacrilege.
You know what all of these films have in common, from Aeroplane down to the Naked Gun to a degree, and they kind of started going a different direction with each movie, but they tried to play it straight, which is what made it so funny. You know what I mean? Like you're playing, even when the comical moments are happening, they're trying to make that straight as well. So that's what makes it so funny. And I know if anybody could play a role straight, it would be obviously Liam Neeson. But there is an element of comedy that he needs to also pull off at the same time to make it work. It's a fine art. You know, but the thing is, Liam, you don't need to do it though. That's the thing. You might be able to do it, but not this.
I mean, Seth MacFarlane again. Just the man's made himself rich by just basically ripping off,
copying,
literally every other, like verbatim. It's not even to a point where you can say, well, he gets influence from it. I mean, Orville is just fucking Fox's Star Trek. Family Guy was just the thicker version of The Simpsons, and then American Dad, and then it was just a boring copy of Family Guy, and then you had, it was just like that. Ted was just, the less said about that film, the better. I can't stand the guy. He does my fucking nutting, except for when he's singing. He's got a beautiful voice. He's a very musically talented person because he loves like Frank Sinatra and all this kind of shit. And that aspect of him is the one area I like. Like in the film Sing, he was great in that. And he's a talented voice actor, but as a writer director, no, I can't stand him.
What's this?
Christine, Christine.
I've been dying to tell this joke since we brought this topic up. I like your beaver. Thanks. I just had it stuffed. Thank you.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I remember that. Like Disney went R-rated with the new Gladiator movie. They only made a couple dozen R-rated, but they've all been hit. And by the way, I'm talking, and this is something we totally forgot.
Film, so they could do that.
Talking of Naked Gun, O.J. Simpson's dead.
Yes.
And we forgot to mention this.
It's O.J. Simpson. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, look. Back in the day when I had no idea he was an American footballer, I just thought he was the guy from Naked Gun. Yeah, but I had no idea, obviously. And I was really upset that he was in the Murder Trouble. I was hoping he would be in the third film because he was so funny in the first two. But
he was in the third film. He just had a more limited
really?
role.
Oh,
yeah,
I can't remember. I really can't remember. But regardless, I had no idea whether he was guilty or innocent. But if you ever find this one clip of him being interviewed by this American interviewer called Ruby Wax, she mainly works in the UK, but she's an American lady, and O.J. Simpson, for a joke, jumped up behind her and had one of these knives that retract back into the blade, and he pretended to stab Ruby Wax with it. Yeah, and Ruby Wax was so taken aback by this, like she was not expecting this, and it really fucked her up. Now, if O.J. Simpson was truly innocent, ex-wife or not, whether he got along with her or not, you would never make a joke like that. And then for me to see him do that, immediately I thought to myself, yeah, you're guilty. Yeah, I just thought to myself, for you to make a joke like that, because you've been already in court proven not to be not guilty, which is why you made a joke like that, because you're, being the person that you are, you're a bit of an exhibitionist and you're taking the piss. Now, look, I got away with it, and I can even make a stabbing joke.
Yeah, but your ex-wife got murdered, and you make a joke about it
in a brutal way.
In a brutal way, Christine.
Yeah.
2 people got murdered, whether you know them or not. You, as a human being, you don't make a joke about that. And he was, in my opinion, obviously guilty. But I really have seen all these memes saying, "Oh, now you're reunited with your wife." I think those are disgusting. First of all, maybe they're implying that now you're dead too, bitch. But I don't believe in heaven and hell. But this is one of those rare incidences where I kind of wish there was a hell.
Yeah.
I
mean, there was. I'm the same as them. I had no idea who OJ was. I just thought, oh my god, yeah, this guy's funny actor, good comedic timing, very slapstick and all this kind of shit. And then when the whole OJ thing, because I remember watching, Naked Gun, and then like a year later, not even, there's the whole fucking police chase thing. Oh fuck me, I like Norberg was one of my favorite characters. He made my dad nearly pass out laughing, just the bit where he goes down the stairs and goes flying,
Yeah.
And then just for him to do what he did, it was heartbreaking. It was disgusting. And 2 people lost their lives out of a fit of jealousy. And they weren't even together at the time. They had split up. That's just fucking batshit crazy shit.
It wasn't jealousy. It was control. Like, he used to beat her as well.
Yep.
Yes.
Me too, Rick. I saw the whole trial on Sky.
I was going to say, like, the whole. I mean, I knew who he was because I used to watch American football, so he was after my time before my time watching it, but I had seen clips of it, and like just the whole thing. I mean, like, because people forget that the racial climate before that trial, because it was just after the Rodney King thing had happened. So like there was like massive racial tension at the time. There was the early riots and stuff like that. So So I think that he benefited 2% of that. Now, I've always thought, like, I mean, I didn't know he was guilty or not, because again, but the stuff that he's done and people have said that are like, yeah, he probably is guilty. I don't like thinking that of people because I try and see the best in people.
Well,
but
look, sorry to interrupt you guys, just quickly here. He might have been found innocent, but the preponderance of evidence to the contrary is astounding, which is spot on.
And
evidence.
This is one of the few times where, like, unfortunately, and I say this as somebody, you know, who's experienced bigotry and racism myself, but this is one of the few times where the race card was placed in order for him to get out because he's a black man, he's been arrested and all that sort of stuff, and it was played, you know, but it was played because he's a famous, popular American icon of a black man too, so it benefited him more in that particular way, but it was played. It was played. Those. I remember, like, so many people thought he was innocent just because they thought he was being racially targeted and stuff like that. And
that's initially what I thought, actually, to be honest with you.
Like I said, I mean, watching all this was like for me, this was like the first like big like sort of trial of a celebrity I ever came across. And even then, I had no, like I said, I knew very little about him, but it made such big news in America. It obviously transcended and made big news in the UK too.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know if you guys watched. Sorry, Chrissy.
No, go ahead. I'm next.
All right. I was going to say, like, I don't know. There's actually like a series, I think, with Cuba Gooding in it as OJ, and what's his name? Ross and Friends as.
Yeah, it's brilliant. As the Kardashian.
Yeah. And like he goes into the fact that he like all the evidence and stuff like that, and the sexism that the flaming female prosecutor had to go through at that time, like how new photographs of herself sold, and she had to get a haircut and all this sort of stuff. It's just awful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone was all like, the glove doesn't fit, acquit. And I'm thinking that glove was leather and it was soaked in blood. If you soak a leather glove in a liquid, it will shrink.
Yes.
Not only that, his cellmate reported that the night before he was punching the wall so much to inflate the size of his hand, it was never going to fit. And to this day, am so angry at the prosecution for not bringing up the fact that glove had been soaked in blood. It would not fit the user of that glove.
Yeah.
Well, he actually he swelled his hand up. I almost admire that, but the tactic, I almost
complete sociopath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Complete fucking lunatic. But again, when we're talking about like being famous, okay, in this case, let's just say being famous and black. Well, look how long it took for R. Kelly to come down. For P. Diddy now, the next kind of person and all this kind of shit. It doesn't matter what your race is. If you're fucking rich, you're rich. And that goes a long way in helping you. It's only when you're poor that it makes the difference.
There wasn't the level of like coverage for celebrities that there is now. Like there's so much more exposure on everything. And plus, R. Kelly didn't have a leg to stand on. His music collection, it was riddled with pedophilia. I mean, Bump and Grind, Age is Nothing But a Number. My God, that one alone, that
was telling.
Yeah. I mean, it's like OJ literally was the start of like news coverage of like trials and shit. I mean, literally, there's like literally networks.
Michael Jackson was the first. The Michael Jackson one was the kind of beginning of all of it. People forget the first time he was sued for being a diddler. That was the first. That was the catalyst. I
used to work in Madame Tussauds, and there was this girl I knew who was a massive Michael Jackson fan. She even had like the words MJ tattooed on her arm, and I made a joke about Michael Jackson being a pedo. I don't remember what joke it was, but I just made a joke, and she fucking hit me. You know what I mean? He fucking hit me over that shit. And what it is, I've noticed with Michael Jackson fans are like any other people in a cult. They will defend you to the hilt, you know, like Trump supporters are and all of that sort of stuff. They will die for you. Like when Michael Jackson was presumed innocent, sorry, not guilty. I'll take that back. You know, like there were people releasing doves in the sky and shit like that. You know, his fans. It was crazy. It was crazy, man. I mean, I can never be that level of fanboy, no matter who it is, who I admire. You know, like oh man. I mean, there's a lot of people I liked and
He
stuff
was
like
a
that.
nonce. Who fucking showers with young boys? He was a
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
nonce.
Yeah, like he was always
He was
he was just weird, just generally, man. You know, like
Yeah.
you know, like he and like people would, yeah, people would say that he would, you know, he would disguise himself from going out in public. But then one person said that they wanted to go out in public with Michael Jackson and told him to disguise himself. And Michael Jackson would famously wear that surgical mask before it became a common thing over COVID. He would just wear it himself. And he did that because he wanted people to recognize him. You know what I mean? You know, they're famous in a way that if they don't get recognized, they almost get pissed off by it. You know what I mean? Like, even though I'm disguising, even though I'm disguising myself, not so people don't know who I am, at the same time, I want people to know who I am, but I love the adoration. So, yeah.
Yeah.
He's weird,
Yeah.
but he's not. Well, sometimes one goes into the other, dude.
He's a nonce. He was
It's the weirdness that
he
makes
was
him a nonce.
fiddled by his own father, and he was just kind of
like
projecting.
I remember him and people like Donald Trump. You know, like they're sitting down watching in the audience and stuff. He's got that kid Jordan on his lap the whole time. The same way Donald Trump had Ivanka on his lap the whole time, even though these are not like babies or toddlers. These are young kids, you know, who should be sitting on their own fucking seat. You know, not sitting on your lap. You know, so yeah, he's a diddle like P. Diddy, by the way, who is now will probably never leave Antigua because he'll be too worried about being prosecuted. And there's something I saw that video of Charlie Penguin Moist Critical.
Oh, you did, yeah. That was a great video.
Yeah, I mean they were taking the piss the whole time, but
it was just it's a good video where they bring everything in and they showcase all the accusations and everything. So it is a great video.
What's it called? What's it called?
I'll send it to you in the links.
Okay. And Zam, just quickly, it's not just them sitting on their laps, which I can maybe forgive some of the times. If you ever notice also where their hand placement is.
Yeah. You're having around the waist and shit, aren't you? So, yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. Should we talk X-Men 97? Not spoilers,
Yeah.
obviously.
Well, I think we can talk spoilers now. I think enough. It came out on Tuesday. It's now Friday. I think there's enough time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
talking spoilers on X-Men 97 was the only way we could talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to be doing spoilers on X-Men 97 episode 5 and everything.
Season
before
6.
That. So you've been warned from this point on. Gary will flash a nipple when we start talking about X-Men. So, but yeah, no, we're not going to fucking talk EastEnders, Rick Reed. God damn it. X-Men 97. Oh my God. What a great episode. I mean, I do have some of my issues with X-Men because I think they're rushing a lot of little things. And the way they talk in a lot of times, you're like, you fucking, who talks like that? You're a bit melodramatic. But the execution and the payoff that we got in episode 5 was fucking great. And it just speaks volumes of the showrunner absolutely knows about colonialism and the devastation that happens in it. And what we talked about earlier, when you don't like a group of people and you're willing to destroy them just because of your own vile hatred. And that's what this was. And getting the moment where my favorite X-Man sacrifices himself, I mean, to save everyone was fucking spectacular. What a great story. Like, I'll always love a Greek tragedy where a hero dies, even if it's my favorite character. If they've gone out heroically and the story has ended, I'll put that in because we're going to have time travel probably. You know, how their story has ended brilliantly. I'm like, that's great. You know, that's how you want them to go out. You don't want this wishy-washy Disney fucking shit that Hollywood has become accustomed to, where the hero always walks away out to the sunset and all this kind of shit. I'm like, that's not what makes a good story. Yeah, Christine. Well, depends.
That's why I'm sick and tired of watching a lot of North American movies. It's a formula. The good guy's not in danger, even though they're making, you know, scenes where there's shit blowing up and he's being shot at. You know he's going to come out of it at the end. Why bother watching? I like more European, the possibility that the hero doesn't make it, and that there is a tragedy, because life is sometimes tragic. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always something to be said. The one thing the Greeks did better than anyone was write a fucking good story. You know, I mean, we've got thousands of years on it. And even to this day, you'll watch some stuff and it's like, yeah, it's fucking really well done. It's just, you know, it's more relatable when things are steeped in certain kinds of misery, and that the hero's journey is not straightforward or doesn't get the result you want, because that's the talking point. Nobody fucking sits there talking about another Stallone film where he's blown the shit out of everyone and just walks away, you know. Nobody talks about that. People talk about the fucking, you know, when Creed dies, you know, when he dies against the Russian. That's the fucking thing that people remember, and they're like, shit, you know. But that's the kind of stuff I mean, like with Terminator, when he kills himself at the end, and then they go fucking ruin it because they can. I mean, it makes sense. They can make 1 million of these guys, but it's still a great talking point. And I love that they did this with X-Men. They massacred mutants, and you know, where do you go from here? Zam, your thoughts?
Well, look, we saw Cable make a very, very brief appearance in that episode, which immediately made me realize, well, he's a time traveler, so this is going to be resolved by time travel. This episode is episode 5. I mean, I don't know how many episodes we're getting in season 6 of X-Men. Do you know?
I think it's 10.
So having an end of finale style episode mid-season, you know, like there's going to be resolution for sure. You know, like you can't kill off Magneto and Gambit, you know, without some sort of way of resolving this. And I think it can look. I don't think this is. You know how shows are sometimes. Something really drastic has happened, and you wait for the next episode to see what's going to happen in the next episode. But the next episode might do a flashback episode or some shit like that, or focus on the secondary character, and they won't give you what you want until the following episode after that. I think maybe X-Men might do that. Yeah, I mean, we might focus on. Yeah, but what we need to do is go straight to Cabal, see him try to resolve this issue, because everyone he cares about from the past is dead. He needs to resolve that, and that's going to be how everything's going to get sorted, in my opinion. Cabal to the rescue.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah,
I hope not now. Like maybe later on. But what I want to see is the repercussions here, like of it, and the rest of the first series. Again, I haven't seen any fucking clips. So please don't tell me.
There's no point in having repercussions if he fucking solves everything. You know what I mean? So even.
No, but the thing is like usually you'll get the next episode is him going back to fix it, and then that's it. But I want to see the long repercussions of it before it gets fixed, because that is the inevitable outcome. But even seeing what kind of happens, because you've got Cable and you've got Bishop, and their futures are completely different to one another. And that's, you know, it's whose future are we going to get, and all this kind of stuff. I just want to see where they go with it. I don't want them to push out yet. I know they will eventually.
What's Cable's mutant power? Is it the same as Bishop's?
No. Cable's mutant power is telepathy, telekinesis, and all this kind of stuff.
Okay,
it's similar. It's more similar to Jean Grey's.
So with the Jean Grey's son, that's why it's
yeah.
Well, the clone Jean Grey's son. Oh, by the way, and also in episode 5, just outside of the crazy stuff, I did like the fact that Scott is having an affair with the clone Jean Grey, because you can't just go back to like that's the Jean Grey he knows, and that's the Jean Grey who's the mother of his son. You know, like it's very easy for the original Jean Grey to come back and say you should be with me, when really he wants to be with her because that's who he's been with, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I
love that aspect of it. I think that's
Yeah.
great storytelling to say, look, it's not that easy because I love you both, because I've had time with both of you thinking you are the one person, but I can't ignore what I had with Madeline, even though I had a fucking kid and all this kind of shit. I just think it's just great storytelling. Like the storytelling is so fucking good. It just makes a big difference. Gaz, sorry, you had your hand up for ages.
Yeah, I was going to say the whole thing with I disagree with what you're saying, Ginger. I want to see what happens this the timeline, because like, you know, who sent the Sentinels? You know, what was their plan? You know, was this the outcome that they wanted all along? You know, is he going to destabilize the peace? You know, there's loads of stories they can tell with this. And the thing is what they should do is maybe like Cable goes back, but he doesn't solve it the next time. Maybe he makes it even worse. And that's
I'd love that.
That'd be a great story, because I mean, I don't recall this in the books, but maybe it is in the books and I just don't recall it. But I don't remember this particular part. But this was absolutely fantastic. This is how you do the X-Men. You have tragedy, you have people getting killed and stuff like that, and you have a Sentinel who maybe kills everybody. I mean, I don't know why Magneto wasn't able to flame tear her apart if he made of bloody metal, but hey, we'll go with that.
I don't think the Sentinels are made of metal, and that's a super Sentinel. But for me, when you're on an island full of mutants and you're telling me those Sentinels can somehow get one over an entire mutant island where everyone's got superpowers, I almost find that hard to believe, but fair enough.
Yeah.
I just want to say real quickly, I was not really interested in watching this series until you've described this episode, and I think it sounds fascinating.
I'll watch it. It's great. Episode 4 sucked, but the rest of it is brilliant.
I'll say this with no hint of exaggeration. It'll be the greatest thing you ever seen in your entire life.
All right.
It's great. I hope we don't get Cassandra. I mean, as much as I loved the New Mutants and all of that fucking soap opera style retcon.
Sorry, wait. If you're gonna put them up, leave them up. I'll squint and read them, but stop flashing them because it's pissing me off.
Oh, for fuck's sake! It's for us to read, not for you.
Yeah, we'll read it to you. Yeah. I think the whole series is introduce the big baddie.
You don't have to read them. Just leave them up so I can read them.
All right. Okay.
The whole series.
It's to introduce. I hope they don't I hope we don't get Cassandra, because Cassandra is basically the fucking dead fetus of bloody Charles Xavier. That something I can't remember it. Yeah, it's Charles Xavier's like sister basically, and yeah, she massacres the mutants on Genosha and all that. The story was great, but Cassandra's origins pissed me right off. It didn't need to be. She could have just been a fucking fucked in the head mutant who just wanted to kill people. Didn't need to be tied like. What pisses me off with the comics is this constant retconning bullshit that does my head in. But if they do bring Cassandra in and she's not tied to Professor X, that's great. But I don't want Cassandra at all. In the comics, guys, the Super Sentinels were encased in composites so dense that Magneto couldn't sense the metal within them, which doesn't make any sense. Again, you can write that in the comics, but it doesn't make sense when the guy can move change the entire magnetic field of the Earth. That's daft kind of MacGuffinism.
But
the guy can bang Rogue. He's so lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, as this episode shows how to do, like, because the thing is, when the explosion comes, you don't see it coming. The thing is, you think it's just going to be about them fighting around in Flaming Joseph for flaming like 30 minutes. But as soon as when it happens, like, oh my god.
when that episode happened, I just thought it would be a love triangle episode with him, Magneto, and Rogue. You know, Gambit
So did I.
On Genosha. That's what I was expecting, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like this apocalyptic angle started happening. Like wow! Like I wasn't.
Yeah.
I just came out of nowhere. Like yeah, this is good shit.
I thought it was a Bob.
You're covering your mic, mate. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I said I thought originally it was a Bob.
Also,
Yeah, me too. But it said it was a
by the way,
kaiju sentinel.
also, like original Jean Grey, she got it. She laid her lips on Wolverine as well. So we'll see. I mean, Wolverine, and the funny thing is, Wolverine's been thirsting over her for a long time. Well, finally, he lip locks her, and he goes, "You know what? You're supposed to be with Scott." Well, you know, maybe. Well, that is two Jean Greys. Maybe you can be with me, and he could be with Scott. You know. And, yeah, and
I kind
everyone's
of
happy.
like Wolverine's reaction to that, because that speaks of his worldly experience being his age, rather than being some 14 teenager to be like, yeah, I'm gonna take this kind of situation. It's like for the greater good, this is how it should be. And I like that. I thought again that was a very mature angle that they did.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
Wolverine.
because he may not like Scott all the time, but he's they've gone into battle loads and loads of times, so he at least respects it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I think next week we're going to focus on Storm. I guarantee you, next week we're going to focus on Storm getting her powers back, and everything that's happened in this week's episode will be left for the following episode.
I'll
and
catch up. I'll watch them. Send me the title of what I'm supposed to be watching. I'll watch all the episodes and catch up. for next week.
Season 6.
Well, send me it on thing because I'll forget.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was the other thing again. Like they rushed the whole Storm and fucking Forge thing. I was like, we haven't even had a whole episode. How's he in love with her and all this kind of weird shit?
Well, would you be in love with someone who looks like that?
Well, I'd be in love with somebody that I don't know. I've only known her for 2 fucking minutes. You know what I mean? Ridiculous. Like they're rushing too many things in some areas, and they need to kind of calm.
Well, like
calm
Bishop
down.
was supposed to be part of this team, and he's already gone back to the future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So there are some bits they're rushing a bit too much, and that. So yeah, that's X-Men 97, best show going at the moment. Everyone go check it out. Yeah, it's awesome. I've got nothing else I want to talk about. I'm lagging here, so I don't know if anyone else has anything.
No, I would like to go to bed.
Okay.
Anything else?
If anybody's in Stockport tomorrow, please on Sunday, sorry, go and support my school who are doing a show. There you go.
Okay.
All right, sweet. Okay,
Chris?
that's it then.
Anything to add?
No,
good.
all good. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you to everyone that joined us again for this week's episode of The World's Gone Insane. Let's talk about it. We had some lovely topics, and we finish off with the greatest show going on at the moment. And we will see you again for the next stuff. You're all the normal people in the comments, so you know the kind of stuff we do. Toodle.